on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Are you a fraud-paying American? 1 in 4 tax-paying Americans have been victim of identity fraud. With LifeLock, your identity, if it's stolen, they fix it guaranteed or your money back. And last year, billions in refunds were stolen. Could be from your salary, overtime, or second job. Gone. But this year, you don't need to stay a victim. Because this tax season, fraud-paying American is something no American should have to claim. Save up to 40% off your first year with the promo code BECK. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms do apply.
On Thursday, February 26th, at Benedictine University in Lisle, AM 560 is hosting a Republican debate. Come hear the candidates for governor and U.S. Senate make their cases for why they should win your vote in the primary election. Be a part of the process to defeat J.B. Pritzker and replace Dick Durbin. Tickets are free, but registration is required. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/debate. That's 560theanswer.com/debate.
It's February 11th, and this is your Fox Daily Snapshot. Today is National Get Out Your Guitar Day. If you have one, pick it up and play it. And if it's stuck in the attic, grab it, dust it off, and hit those strings. Super Tuesday in 2016, the primary elections, both Republican Donald Trump and Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton win 7 state races each. The Egyptian Revolution in 2011 culminates in the resignation of Hosni Mubarak and the transfer of power to the Supreme Military Council after 18 days of protest known as the Arab Spring. For the first time since 1956, the Special Veterans Committee does not elect anyone to baseball's Hall of Fame in 1988. Born on this day, Jennifer Aniston in 1969. She played Rachel in the hit TV show Friends.
I'm so happy and not at all jealous.
I'm CJ Papa. That's your Fox Daily Snapshot.
Rashaw talks about building income in retirement.
You know, you can actually structure it in a way that have that $4,000 a month coming in the door every single month. So you don't have to look at the stock ticker and say, oh, the stock market's up today, stock market's down. You still got that $4,000 a month, and having that opportunity to take the vacations and do all the fun things in retirement that you always dreamed to do.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Safety. It's so important at your industrial facility. You need to keep your personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. One problem with your ladders, platforms, or safety guards, and you could be facing costly fines. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a business owner, I realize the importance of keeping my employees safe, and I'm here to offer my expertise. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment, including walkways, handrails, stairways, and machinery guards. Our Vans Industrial team can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality goods, and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results, done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com, and schedule your free in-home consultation today.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. Roger Goodell and the NFL want to expand the appeal of the league to international audiences. So, offering a Spanish-language halftime might have made sense had that been the extent of the messaging. Instead, Goodell allowed Bad Bunny and his allies to lecture Americans about immigration enforcement. Not for the first time, the NFL treated its own domestic fan base as toxic and backward to pander to progressives. When else have we seen this level of disdain for the culture of a company's customers? Bud Light scolded their patrons as they pressed transgender Dylan Mulvaney. Gillette treated men as predators and bullies. And Target pressed transgender swimwear for children. These brands assumed their loyal customers would stick around to be insulted. In all instances, the brands lost significant ground. More than 6 million people tuned out to watch Turning Point USA's All-American Halftime Show. Perhaps Goodell should think about how many more may vote with their feet next season. I'm Ed Morrissey.
40,000 people. That's enough to pack Wrigley Field. I'm talking about 40,000 people who realized hip and knee surgery wasn't their only option. There has to be another way. Guess what? There is. They found it at QC Kinetics, an alternative to surgery. I know this because I've met these patients. They are moving better and hurting less thanks to QC Kinetics' advanced regenerative treatments. Surgery isn't always the answer. Do your research and talk with my friends at QC Kinetics. They offer natural treatments backed by real science. They will activate your body's natural healing power. Safe, natural, non-surgical. Osteoarthritis only gets worse, so don't wait. Get started this month. 40,000 people can't be wrong. Before you choose surgery, talk with QC Kinetics and tell them Dan Prof sent you. That's me. Call today, 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
Hey there, Chicagoland. Jeff here from Jeff Buys Your House. For many homeowners, winter can feel overwhelming. There's big bills, unexpected situations, or the stress of owning a home you no longer want. But here's the good news. You don't need to wait for warmer weather to make a change. At Jeff Buys Your House, we make selling simple. Even in the heart of winter, you don't need to fix anything, do any cleaning, and you certainly don't need to worry about unpredictable buyers. We buy houses as is, and you choose the closing date that works best for you. We've made the home selling process easy and stress-free for nearly 2 decades. That's why homeowners trust us, and why we've earned over 400 Google reviews and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. As a veteran-owned business, we handle everything with integrity and care. So if winter is weighing on you, we are here to help lighten the load. Call us at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com and get your offer today.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank that cares about your business and is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Chris Johnson, CEO of Classic Cinemas and proud customer of Signature Bank. We are a local family-owned business that is known for free refills on all sizes of popcorn, soft drinks, and ices. With over 9,000 heated recliners in 16 locations, we marry the traditions of the past with today's state-of-the-art technology. Throw in a 30-minute guarantee and an after-movie mint, and you have the perfect night out. As we strive to make every guest our priority, Signature Bank does the same with their customers. The team at Signature Bank is interested in taking my company forward. They have all the resources and solutions of the big banks, but they customize their offerings to meet my business needs. The customer always comes first with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hello, can I have your attention, please? My name is Hugh McKenzie, and I'm a devout listener of The Answer. They have partnered with Food for the Poor consistently for the last few years. In the past, I've always wanted to participate, but unfortunately never had the extra cash at the end of the year to do so. But last weekend, I received the mail, and there was a bonus check for $2,500 from Mack Truck for selling commercial vehicles. I decided that I was all in. As I mentioned, I sell commercial vehicles. Everything from Mack, Volvo, Hino, Isuzu, new and used. I've been selling for over 30 years in the Chicagoland market. Call me at 630-918-9534 or check me out on the web. Google my name, Hugh McKenzie, and Hugh is spelled H-U-G-H, McKenzie is spelled M-C-K-E-N-T-Y. All right, thank you very much for your time.
To contact Hugh McKenzie, search Hugh McKenzie on LinkedIn or call 630-918-9534. That's 630-918-9534.
You need to be tuning into the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, the radio companion to the Amazon best-selling book, Success Blueprint, How to Build the Retirement You Deserve. Each week, Michael shares strategies designed to help reduce market risk through income-generating investments that can provide steady returns. Because if you can avoid a big loss, you don't need to take big risks. Catch the Retirement Success Blueprint with Michael Stewart, Saturday mornings at 10, right here on AM 560 The Answer.
If you'd like a smartphone that's really smart, download the OnePlace.com app, the app that will inspire your faith daily and provide answers to the biggest questions of all. OnePlace lets you download your favorite pastor's programs and listen, even offline or in airplane mode, with easy connections to your Bluetooth speaker or dashboard. To download your free OnePlace app, visit the iTunes App Store or the Google Play Store for your Android device and search for OnePlace. That's OnePlace.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 41. Tonight, expect increasing cloudiness with a low of 27. Tomorrow will be cloudy most of the time, reaching a high of 41. On Friday, anticipate periods of clouds and sunshine with a high of 51. Saturday is expected to have plenty of sunshine with a high of 53. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning. Welcome to Chicago's Morning Answer. I'm Amy Jacobson, Jeannie Ives. We are in for the one and only Dan Proft again today, and what a busy day it is going to be. Overnight, we learned that the person that they took into question, you have a cough button. The person that they took into questioning in reference to the Nancy Guthrie disappearance case or alleged kidnapping has been released. He lives an hour south of Tucson in a town called Rio Rico. He's a delivery truck driver. Was very surprised, has never watched the Today Show, has no idea who Savannah Guthrie is, and does not know who Nancy Guthrie is.
Anything that you guys need to tell us or want to tell us about tonight? We're trying to figure out what's going on.
Well, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Be good. Have a good night.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I was arrested for kidnapping, but I didn't do it.
And so how did this all start? How did they stop you here? You were driving here?
No,
or?
my wife was driving.
Your wife was driving?
Because they were following me. And once I saw they were following me, I pulled over. They didn't even have to put a traffic stop or anything. I got off the car, and they arrested me as soon as I got out the car. They didn't even tell me what was going on until the detectives got here, like 2 hours before I got arrested. And then the detectives got here. It was the FBI agent in Santa Cruz County. And they told me I was being detained for kidnapping. And I asked them, like, well, kidnapping of who? And they told me this lady, I don't know her name. And
Nancy Guthrie?
Yeah, that's her. And I told them I work in Tucson for GLS. I might have delivered a package to your house, but I never kidnapped anybody. They hold me from like 4 to right now.
Had you heard of Nancy Guthrie before tonight?
Never until today.
Never until today.
Yeah.
They have put out, the Pima County Sheriff's Department put out that they had detained a person of interest, and I guess that's you?
I guess so.
How do you feel about that? People are watching this all over. I mean,
I'm not happy, you know. Like, I mean, I'm glad they're doing their job, right? But they're chasing the wrong person, and they should be chasing other leads. You know what I mean?
These are like Keystone Cops right now. Pima County Sheriff Nunez, whatever his name is. This is his second time in office. Nobody respects him there. Saturday night, he was at a U of A basketball game. And the whole world is watching the story. This is not like, for some reason, America is so obsessed about the story, whether you're on the right, you're on the left, you're a communist, you're a conservative. People are obsessed with this story, and they are falling down on every avenue. It's making no sense.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt that Fox News is obsessed with it. It was wall-to-wall coverage. They couldn't pull off of it. And, it is, you know, people, when you start to see an image and you want to know who the perpetrator is, but I don't know. I mean, I know that they can do a lot of fancy stuff with technology, but quite frankly, the guy's got a ski mask on. It could be any number of individuals. And I feel bad for this guy if he actually was wrongly pulled over.
I mean, they searched his mother-in-law's house, and then they released the crime scene because they're like, there is no crime scene. But they busted the garage door. They busted the back door. They took his car. I mean, this is all while we were sleeping, and then realized that this is not the guy, and they released him. But now the surveillance video that they released from the Nest camera that took 10 days. 10 days. Come on. That's a lot.
Well, I mean, I imagine that they needed to find it, first of all. I mean, this is also such speculation on my part. I have no idea what I'm talking about this. I'm just looking at this, though, and it is true that you know close friends' gaits. You know how they carry themselves. You know how they sort of look. You may even recognize a backpack. You may recognize something in the eyes. So I imagine that somebody out there does know who this individual is. But I don't think that you can just randomly go into people's homes, rip it apart, and then detain them for such. I mean, well, okay, great. That's what they do in an investigation.
Right. And
But,
that's why they
hopefully
said he
he's
was
made whole.
Yeah, he was a person of interest. Hopefully they'll pay for all the damages
Right.
that they did. But that means the real killer's out there. And if you've seen the video, the surveillance, which I'm sure you have, as Jeannie mentioned, the guy, he's about 5'11", because the archway to her house is 6 feet tall, and he's right underneath that. And he's kind of hunching over. If that's my son, if that's one of my son's friends,
Exactly.
one of my neighbors, a kid I coached, somebody at the school I worked at, you're going to know who that person is because they've got a big build. He's got a big belly. He really does. And then he has a mustache underneath. You can see it underneath the mask. And he's got very distinctive shoes on and pants and a jacket. So somebody knows who he is. That's why when this person was pulled over and arrested, everybody thought, oh, maybe, now let's find Nancy. Where's Nancy? Because that's the big question here, is where is Nancy Guthrie? And Kash Patel was on with on Fox last night talking about why it did take 10 days. Because my mom lives alone in Tucson. She's 83. We need to get her a camera that has a subscription. So she didn't have a subscription. So that's why Kash Patel said the FBI worked with private sector to dig up this video, and that's why it took 10 days.
And because President Trump delivered these great partnerships with these private sector companies, we were able to execute lawful searches and go to these private sector companies and expedite results and then go into their systems and actually excavate material that people would think would normally be deleted and no one would look for. And basically, without getting into too many of the details, that's how the FBI worked with our private sector partners to pull out material that people thought didn't even exist because of the specific type of subscription service on the Ring doorbell. But thanks to this brilliant partnership, we were able to get it out, sharpen it with our technical capabilities at the FBI, and put it out to the world.
And I just want to tell you, I talked about the obsession with this case, that it seems more unifying than the Super Bowl at times, believe it or not, besides the Bad Bunny show. But I wish that we could harness this.
Not to everybody, Amy. The alleged person that they took, he's like, I don't have no idea who she's talking about.
But I wish we could harness this.
Do you believe that, though? Do you think that he didn't know?
I wish that we could harness this energy for other crimes that needed to be solved. Really, that's why. I mean, the media loves covering stories involving other media members. So it's, I know we love the mystery and the drip, drip, drip of information, but one person wrote me a really heartfelt letter about his son disappearing. And he said, Amy, in 2012, my oldest son went missing in Death Valley Desert on a 120-degree night. The very sad Guthrie story is hard for me to deal with. I have no malice because so many resources are being utilized. But when my son was gone, I got little to no cooperation from local police. They just dismissed it as just another druggie lost in the desert. Fact is, my son's car broke down at midnight along the highway. His dog jumped out the window and ran into the desert where my son chased him. Because he became disoriented and lost, we never found him. It took CPD captain to call the county sheriff to get them to do something. Someone informed WBBM radio about it, and that publicity helped to get the case moving. Sadly, it didn't end well, as my son was found 6 days later. Amy, I'm praying that Miss Guthrie is found alive and safe. God bless you and your family. And you had mentioned that earlier when, we first started The Real Story, which airs Monday through Friday, 11 to noon, that we wish, that because Trump said, I'm going to donate all resources, whatever you need, we're here to help you, that he could do that for all cases.
Yeah, no, obviously this has captured everybody's imagination and it's gotten a lot of media attention, but there are so many other cases that remain unsolved and they are not getting the attention that they deserve.
312-642-5600. Again, we're always open. You could call us, 312-642-5600, or text us on our text line. It's the same number. Dan Bongino, who recently left the FBI, now a Fox News analyst, he weighed in on this case and that video that took 10 days to come out.
There seems to be at some point, familiarity with the area. If you notice when he walks up, he has his head down. Maybe he thinks there's some surveillance camera outside he's missing. But then he seems, if you look, he seems surprised. I see it playing right now. He seems like he's going to knock on the door and then seems surprised by the presence of that doorbell camera right there. And then instead of having a simple item like a piece of tape, he goes out and grabs it in kind of amateurish manner, some plant that he tries to cover it with. It just seems quite odd. And another thing that sticks out to me is, having been not just in law enforcement, being a gun carrier my whole life, that's a very unusual way to carry a firearm. I mean, they have inside the waistband holsters. Now, I don't know what type of firearm it is. I can't see from the picture. I'm watching it right here. Maybe it's a revolver. I don't know. But that's an unusually large holster to be carried in that manner. A couple other things jump out at me. The FBI has a divert team, a digital video enhancement team. They're probably, I would guess, I know if I was working the case right now, and I'm sure Cash is right now, I'm sure they're working on this to pick apart everything. I would guess from looking at him in context of probably the archway, he's probably 5'9" to 5'11" or so.
312-642-5600. Let's go to the phone lines. And Craig from Mount Greenwood, you join us on Chicago's Morning Answer. Good morning, Craig.
Hey, good morning, Amy. Really good to hear you again. And there with Jeannie, I've heard her quite often on different programs, so to speak. But good hearing you guys.
Thanks, Craig.
And, if Kash Patel is legit, and the reason I say if is because you got all these really, really rotten, corrupt, anti-American FBI agents that were all involved in J6, basically setting that trap and being involved in the group. And then they were super efficient and really effective in rounding up every single person, everybody that went through the Capitol, people outside the Capitol on grounds, and they had something like 1,000 agents going through all kinds of material and all the data and phones and everything to round these people up. Very effective. So even though the FBI, they're all on our list, I'm always asking my question. Yeah, they're all pretend like they're on me, but are they really trying to? Is it all a game or a show or whatever? Because for whatever reason, and we have no idea what the reason will be, but I think they can be very effective or very ineffective when they're all moving around, moving and shaking, doing their things, and nobody has gone to jail for all that what they did with January 6th. So I continue to take and wonder, wait a minute, what is going on here? Because that's criminal activity to set those kind of traps and then to go after Americans and then to not have them, not allow them to have their rights, and just to do everything the way they did it is so rotten and corrupt against the American people, just because of their.
So what you're saying is you don't trust the FBI?
No, not at all. You picked up on that, Amy?
Not even with Kash Patel in charge, Craig?
Well, that's the issue. I was so supportive of Kash Patel because he wrote that book, and I thought he was really great. But there's nothing going on whatsoever with basically these all these corrupt agents and everything that have been involved in all kinds of
well, we're kind of
corruption.
skipping subjects here, but all right. Thanks for the phone call, Greg. So again, those newly discovered video camera, I'm sure you've seen it. If you haven't, we've put it on social media. You could check it out because you know that somebody knows something.
So who's really in charge of the investigation? Is it the FBI at this point?
Yeah. So thank God the FBI came in. They probably should have come in earlier because they waited a few days, and that was precious time because that video could have been out so much sooner. And the fact that she needs medications to stay alive, the fact that she has a pacemaker that we don't know if it is still working or if it's not. I know that the Pima County Sheriff knows, but he said sometimes the pacemaker is still working and the person's not alive. So he did say that in an interview 2 days ago, which I thought...
That's not good news.
No, that's not good news. So time is of the essence still. So we'll stay on top of this, and if anything develops, we will let you know. And at 7:35, we're going to have a private investigator on to talk more about the investigations that's going on in Annie Guthrie's neighborhood. She and her husband were the last people to see her alive, and there's
getting a lot of attention.
Yep, and his bandmates and all this, because one of his bandmates looks a lot like the guy in the video, but that's we'll talk to him about that. That's conjecture on his part, not our part. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, Radio Gold. We need your help. Who answered the question best? We'll explain, but now let's hit the headlines.
Good morning. It is 28 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has denied the state of Illinois' appeal for a major disaster declaration following severe storms and flooding that affected Boone, Cook, Kane, McHenry, and Will counties last August. In a letter dated February 7th, FEMA reaffirmed its initial decision that supplemental federal assistance was not warranted. Governor J.B. Pritzker says the agency's decision is politically motivated. Illinois State Police say they've arrested a Chicago man for an alleged road rage shooting on Interstate 55. According to an ISP statement, 22-year-old Daniel Zaragoza fired at a vehicle on I-55 near Damien Avenue in Chicago last Friday morning. The victim was hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. Zaragoza has been charged with felony aggravated battery with a firearm. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Score major deals on top brands at Mattress Firm's President's Day sale. Find your dream mattress today. Their sleep experts are highly trained to find the right one to fit your unique needs. They make sleep easy.
He's tried to mellow out.
For what reason, nobody knows.
But it didn't take.
Let me guess.
Sean Thompson.
It's not political party per se. It's character. And every decent American should be outraged at the idea that this goes unreported for a decade. It is unfracking believable that every decent American doesn't want to light the torches.
The Sean Thompson Show. Weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, it's Scott Tucker and my new co-host,
Amy Jacobson,
on AM 560. We wanted you to know that we have a special show every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. here on AM 560, The Answer. It is Retirement Decoded with Scott Tucker and
Amy Jacobson.
It's every Sunday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. 2-hour show, 2-hour radio extravaganza. Amy, we're going to tantalize the listening public and the listening private with all kinds of retirement planning information. So tune in at AM 560 Sunday mornings at 7 a.m.
Dan Proft here to tell you about an opportunity for you to promote your business and to make a difference this Christmas season. I'm talking about our Food for the Poor Business Benefactor Program. We've partnered with Food for the Poor to provide life-saving food and water for thousands of children and their families in Latin America and the Caribbean. Your business can be a part of this effort. Become a Food for the Poor business benefactor by making a $2,500 tax-deductible donation to Food for the Poor. That donation will help more than 30 children for an entire year. And when you do that, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air here on AM 560 The Answer between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this deal, just call John Gallagher at 847-472-8950. Again, that's 847-472-8950. One more time, the number, 847-472-8950. Or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor. That website again, 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 41. Expect increasing cloudiness tonight with a low of 27. Tomorrow will be cloudy most of the time, reaching a high of 41. On Friday, anticipate periods of clouds and sunshine with a high of 51. Saturday will bring plenty of sunshine with a high of 53. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
All right, welcome back to Chicago's Morning Answer. Amy Jacobson, Jeannie Ives in for the one and only Dan Proft, who will be back tomorrow. How are you doing, partner? 2 days in a row of
I'm good.
5 hours of radio. Isn't it fun?
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. What time did you get up in the
Dan's
morning?
great, though. He gives us a lot of freedom to put together the show that we want to put together, the topics that we like to discover, cover, and so I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What time did you get up? Because you live...
Oh, I get up at like 3:45.
All right.
Leave at 4:15, get here.
Good job.
45.
Thank you. And
Absolutely.
you're on time. You're here.
I did have to hire a dog walker today, though.
Uh-oh.
My husband's out of town, so I'm like, I cannot leave my dog.
You could have brought your dog in here.
No, he doesn't like to do that.
Oh, he doesn't like
No,
talk
he's
radio?
almost 13 years old. He's a little older. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right.
Set
Well,
his way.
real quick before we get to our next topic, Justin Kosick, the technical producer extraordinaire, because I was talking yesterday about I had to do a colonoscopy after our show.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I got 2 polyps removed and some other stuff going on, but it's
God.
okay. Since I've seen you, I'd had body parts removed, but I'm here. Everything's good. Well, I'm sure it'll be fine. Waiting for the results is always fun, those 3 days. But Justin has a history of colon cancer or polyps in his family, and he has not gotten a colonoscopy yet. And I'm telling you, I'm publicly shaming you right now because the
listeners
nurse
against me.
Isn't he really young?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: the nurse who put the port in me, she said you would be so surprised at how many younger kids we are screening and how many of them have cancer and polyps and cancerous polyps. Because before you had to be 50 to
Right.
get a colonoscopy.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're seeing kids in their 20s, and we have a relative in our family. She's 29. She has colon cancer. And she's going to
frightening.
be fine. It's always, once you have cancer, you always have to stay on top of that and get your blood levels checked. The woman she said her aunt at 30 died from colon cancer.
Oh, no.
And had 3 young kids she left behind. So, Justin, when I heard that story, I'm publicly shaming you. And Jeannie, you too. You two both need to go to the
We're on
doctor.
the
Now,
naughty list.
I checked with Quinn. He and I are in good standings. He's healthy. He's fine. He's gotten a colonoscopy. But, Justin, why haven't you done it?
I just turned the big 3-0, and I'm a no COVID vax kind of guy, so I didn't feel there was a need to worry yet.
Justin's my guy.
But you guys, screenings have nothing to do with COVID. Now,
Yeah,
I know they
no, but-
canceled screenings because of COVID, and a lot of people have cancer because of that. I'm convinced that's conjecture on my part. But you guys be proactive.
But if we're going down the rabbit hole,
Let's go down the rabbit hole.
Turbo cancers that are coming out now, the weird stuff, whether it's COVID vax or not, this didn't seem to emerge until 2020 and post. So now it's a concern, and especially now that I'm 30. I understand.
But you were telling me during the break that you thought you and your dad could go together to have like a father-son bonding colonoscopy moment.
Well, I got to figure out when I'm going to go and if I need to go. I know a couple family members have suffered, but I don't know how far back this runs.
Okay, suffered with colon cancer or polyps or what?
My grandma had colon cancer. I know that for a fact. And my grandpa maybe did. I'm not quite sure yet.
My parents both smoked into their 80s and no cancer.
No cancer at all? No. Really? No. How much did they smoke? What did they smoke? What was their flavor?
Enough.
Parliament?
I
Marlboro?
I don't know.
Unfiltered Marlboros?
I've never ever tried because I just thought it was so disgusting. I've never, ever
You've never smoked
never,
a cigarette?
Never will.
Wow. Look at
No.
you goody two-shoes over there. No, but probably
It's gross.
because they smoked. And
It's
did they smoke
disgusting.
in the house?
Absolutely, of course.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
And they never had any cancers whatsoever.
No. Mm-mm.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of this stuff is hereditary.
Okay. All right. Well, Justin, I'm going to stick on top of you on this, okay? And you know how annoying I can be, right?
No comment.
Okay. All right, folks, we need your help because I don't know if you saw this, but last week there was a debate called the, why can't I find it here? Because I have it right here. Yes, it was the Illinois Senate Democratic primary debate. So the 3 candidates were there. Raja Krishnamurthy. Am I pronouncing his name right?
Krishnamurthy.
Christian Morphy.
Krishnamurthy.
Yeah. Okay.
Krishnamurthy.
I'm going to go with Raja.
Yes.
Juliana Stratton and Robin Kelly. And they were all asked the same question. And we want you to let us know, and you too, Jeannie, who answered the question best. And here's the question, and is brought to you by Jennifer Steinhauer from University of Chicago Institute of Politics.
Do you approve of the leadership of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, and will you support his reelection?
Do you have another question? I'm just kidding.
Congressman Krishnamurthy, you're first.
I'm first. Okay.
You don't live
well, look. Yeah.
Do you have another question?
Look, I think that, let's see. I want to see where Brandon Johnson's going to take us as a city. Look, we have tremendous potential as Chicago. We are an amazing city. in the Chicago region and all of Illinois for that matter. And the question is, do we bring people together and try to find our boldest common denominators?
So he didn't answer the question. So thank goodness this Jennifer, I don't know who she is, but I love her. She called him out on it.
I'm sorry, Congressman. The question wasn't about the governor. It's about the mayor. So without attacking, specifically, do you approve of his job performance so far? And do you imagine yourself supporting him in a re-election?
Yeah, let me get to that. So basically what I'm trying to say is this. My support for him will depend on, do we do more of building on consensus and bringing people together to tackle our common problems, attracting more economic development, especially to the south and west sides of Chicago?
Did he answer the question?
No.
No, he did not. Okay, next up is Juliana Stratton, our lieutenant governor. 312-642-5600. We want to know who answered the question best, Raja, Juliana, or Robin Kelly. Here is our lieutenant governor.
I'm very grateful for the ways that we have stood together here in the city of Chicago and in the state of Illinois, especially in the wake of all of these attacks by Donald Trump and his administration. And you all might have seen when he was threatening to send federalized troops to our city, we all stood together, federal electeds, the governor and I, county, and the city of Chicago, to say that we don't welcome Donald Trump here, that we don't want his troops, and that we're going to stand up for our neighbors. So that kind of collaboration must continue. I don't know if he has announced that he's running for re-election, so I have no comment on that at this time.
Was that an answer, Jeannie?
No, that's not an answer at all.
No.
No, I mean, let's remember who Juliana Stratton is. Let's just take a pause here, and I want to remind listeners of who she is. She was somebody that Mike Madigan fished out of I don't know where in 2016 to run against Ken Duncan, because Ken Duncan refused to show up for a vote in August that was a pro-union vote, and Madigan needed every single member at that time to overturn this veto by Rauner. So Ken Duncan refuses to show up. So they fish out Juliana Stratton. They bring her in. They run her against Ken Duncan, a state rep at that time. And for that election, $3 million is spent on both sides to win the state rep race. And
is that the most money ever spent on a state rep race? $3 million?
$3 million on each side. It could be a record.
Okay. Sorry,
and during this race, Barack Obama is the sitting president, and he cuts a commercial on behalf of Juliana Stratton in a lowly state rep race.
I remember that.
So he owed a favor to Madigan. They get Juliana Stratton in, and then the next, she does nothing in the state house, and then in 2018 runs with Pritzker as his lieutenant governor. That's her history. That's who she is. She's not equipped to do this, but of course, J.B. Pritzker just gave her $5 million because she can't raise money on her own at all.
Well, she bragged during that debate that she doesn't have a super PAC. She doesn't need a super PAC when she has a sugar daddy.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. All right, let's move on to Congresswoman Robin Kelly. Mm-hmm. I'll let you listen and then decide. So again, Raja, Juliana, Robin Kelly, 312-642-5600. Here's her answer on if she approves of the leadership of Mayor Brandon Johnson, and would she support him in his reelection?
Any elected official, people would say this about me. There's some things you agree with and some things you don't agree with. I will give him a great compliment on how he handled ICE, and actually I will give him a great compliment when Chicago was on stage with the DNC. Chicago did a fantastic job under his leadership. And when he had to, he was summoned to D.C. on the Oversight Committee, and you would be proud of how he stood up and defended Chicago and took a lot of heated questions, but he did a really, really good job. I don't know if he's running again. He hasn't said that to me, but I think that in this next year, time will tell what happens with the budget, what happens with school, what happens with businesses coming in and out of Chicago. Can he bring the council together?
We'll mark you all as undecided.
That will mark you all as undecided.
Okay, I appreciate the the interviewer.
312-642-5600.
How about she wins? She's got the best response to all of them.
I was surprised that they even asked the question. And then when he said, can I have another question?
Yeah.
And then Robin Kelly said to him, well, you don't live in Chicago. Did you hear that? She said, well, you don't live in Chicago. Oh, honey, no. We all live in Chicago because people down south of I-80, they're paying for the sins of our Chicago politicians. So trust me, we're all involved. And what happens in Chicago eventually spreads out into the suburbs. And my God, if it spreads south of I-80, I will just die a little inside.
Well, any Chicago Democrat, any Democrat in the legislature, it doesn't matter where they're from, they vote like a Chicago Democrat because they are controlled by the progressive wing of their party, and they do not stand up to them at all. So just letting you know that.
It's got a text message. Robin Kelly physically resembles a Netflix version of, I don't even know what that, Katie Hobbs. I don't know what that means. Isn't Katie Hobbs She's governor of Arizona?
The governor of Arizona, who's been like
radio silent. Governor Pritzker would be all over this. Like, oh, the national media's here. Oh, I'm going to be out on the crime scene. Oh, I'll go to this crime scene. Number 3, that's the number 3. And number 3 is Robin Kelly. And Robin Kelly's the one that I'd say handled it the best. But they all, kind of skirted around.
Well, there's so much in a name when it comes to getting elected. And I'm not sure that if maybe a lot of people on the Democrat side don't really know any of these 3. And so they go into the voting booth and like, Robin Kelly sounds like a nice Irish woman. I mean, and they vote for her.
Well, but I think Raja, he's got this wrapped up. He's like the nice guy.
He's the one who...
I'm harmless. I struggled. We were on welfare when I was a kid, and my parents came here legally. But of course, in his campaign ads, all 3 of these candidates, all the Democrat candidates collectively would have nothing in their campaign ads if they didn't bash Trump.
Right.
They'd have nothing to say. If they didn't have to bash ICE or bash Trump, they would have nothing except to tell their story, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Raja's doing both. He's telling his story and then talking about ICE and demolishing ICE and getting ICE out. Well, ICE has been here for a long time. ICE was here under Obama. ICE has been here under both Bushes. ICE has been here for decades, and they're not going anywhere. And I don't know if you saw Pamela Brown's CNN story. It's when Obama was in office. Pamela Brown drove around with ICE agents from Chicago. And they picked up the wrong guy at first, let him go because they accidentally got his brother instead of the guy they were looking for. And there's no masks on the ICE agents, but they're doing their job, what they're doing now. But the difference is now that they're under attack while they're doing their job.
There's literally no difference between what Obama did for ICE enforcement operations and what Trump is doing. And in fact, if you want to really look at it in more detail, Obama's deportation efforts were less democratic, air quotes, than what Trump's doing. He simply deported more people at this point in his administration than Trump has. He grabbed people from their homes, left the wife and the children behind, deported them anyway. I mean, everything. And he got zero attention for doing so.
And his right-hand man was Tom Homan. And Tom Homan was honored by Obama, but now he's been called a Nazi because he's working with Trump. Let's go to George in Naperville. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer. Hi, George.
Hi, good morning, ladies. What's not to like in Brandon Johnson? It sounds like they all love him.
Yeah, they all squirmed. I mean, things got really uncomfortable if you watched this debate on stage when that question was asked. It was almost like he was toxic.
Well, Mayor Johnson's ICE executive order, though, is getting a lot of pushback from Eileen O'Neill Burke. I can never get those Irish names all in a row, but apparently she has said that the ICE on notice executive order compromises potential prosecutions of federal agents by politicizing the investigations. She's not in favor of this whatsoever. So, and the Chicago FOP boss said that the mayor's ICE on notice order is a piece of toilet paper.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that on the top of the hour at 6 because that's there's more. And then coming up too. Guess what? Guess who has a Substack? You'll never guess in a million years. And just in time for Valentine's Day, ladies, there's a new definition for women.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
If you're over 65 and struggling with knee pain, Joint Relief Institute offers a guaranteed way to treat it. It's non-surgical and often covered by Medicare and private insurance. It's JRI's Joint Arthritis Treatment, knee lubrication placement that's so accurate it's 100% guaranteed and can relieve your knee and shoulder pain in 10 minutes or less. Book your risk-free consultation today and get back to walking, golfing, pickleball to cycling without pain or medication. Call 708-315-6800. Meet the provider, get an x-ray and joint consultation. Why wait? JRI has treated over 30,000 Chicagoans and performed over 400,000 procedures. You could be next. Over 5,000 five-star Google reviews can't be wrong.
Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800 for the Joint Relief Institute. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted.
Feel like you're trying to push a boulder uphill wearing skates? If you run or manage a local business today, you're challenged like never before. We get it, and we want to help. We're Salem Surround. We're a full-service marketing agency that'll help you increase your customer base by designing incredibly effective plans to reach your consumers day, night, and everywhere they might be.
Salem Surround. Meet with a digital marketer today for ideas that will make your business stand out. Visit salemsurround.com.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. Roger Goodell and the NFL want to expand the appeal of the league to international audiences. So, offering a Spanish-language halftime might have made sense had that been the extent of the messaging. Instead, Goodell allowed Bad Bunny and his allies to lecture Americans about immigration enforcement. Not for the first time, the NFL treated its own domestic fan base as toxic and backward to pander to progressives. When else have we seen this level of disdain for the culture of a company's customers? Bud Light scolded their patrons as they pressed transgender Dylan Mulvaney. Gillette treated men as predators and bullies. And Target pressed transgender swimwear for children. These brands assumed their loyal customers would stick around to be insulted. In all instances, the brands lost significant ground. More than 6 million people tuned out to watch Turning Point USA's All-American halftime show. Perhaps Goodell should think about how many more may vote with their feet next season. I'm Ed Morrissey.
AM 560, The Answer.
Lots of text messages coming in. Ever notice Democrat debates are on TV while Republican debates are on AM radio? Another text message coming from 847. Justin, get your colonoscopy right now. Do not wait. I had a college roommate who had cancer, and you do not want to drag your feet on this one. Okay, Justin, we're getting a lot of text messages about that. But, Jeannie, you were mentioning about early voting because it was on again, off again, on again. What's the latest?
So DuPage County is open again for voting, so you can go ahead and early vote and take care of that right now. And then you save candidates a lot of time. So they've settled out the ballot question. Severino's not on. And,
all right, so Severino's definitely off the ballot.
He's off.
Okay. And so that starts... It's game on.
Yeah, game on. That's right. So let's get going, folks. We only have 6 weeks.
Early
voting.
voting.
To get this done. I highly recommend early voting. It's very easy. You know your vote's secure. You don't even have to try and request a ballot, have it come to your house or anything like that. Go in and early vote. If you know who you're voting for, take your name off the list so candidates save time and money from contacting you.
We had somebody knocking on the door last night for some Democrat candidate, and my dogs were going crazy, and I if I opened up the door, it could have been a bloodbath. And I don't have a screen, so I lean over in the bay window and I said, "I'm a Republican," and she went, "Okay, thank you."
That's all you have to say in your neighborhood,
yeah.
right?
I'm a Republican. She was
they're
so
they're going to leave you alone.
Oh yeah, all right, got it. And then another neighbor walking by looked at the window like, she's a Republican? I'm like, just keep walking, honey. I mean, honestly, if you don't like conform or die with those people,
Oh my
there
God. I
is
could not live
no
in your neighborhood.
in between.
Look, my neighborhood's bad enough. My precinct is mostly Democrat in Wheaton.
I know. What happened to
Wheaton?
Lovely Wheaton.
I know.
Well,
Yeah.
what was this
They've
seismic
just
shift?
moved in. They've moved in, and there wasn't enough pushback and not enough education going on to explain to voters what's going. I mean, look, there's a lot of Republican and independent votes to be had because things are so bad in the state. But we've got a lot of work to do to inform voters.
Yeah.
And they want it in short sound bites. By the way, these voters, they don't want to try and seek the information. They want you to spoon feed to them in one-liners exactly who to vote for and why. And I'm like, okay, you know what? If you're not going to be an informed voter, then you're going to live with what you get.
I gotta tell you,
It's like the idea that the Republican Party's responsibility is to cut everything down to one soundbite, one sentence, and explain to you public policy in one sentence, and then you're going to believe that? Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I just thought of you. You're talking about my liberal neighborhood. I had 4 white moms coming straight out of their core power yoga class at the intersection of Ashland and Irving. 4 of them holding a sign, hands off Chicago. Have you seen those signs everywhere? They replaced the hate has no home here.
Yes.
Sign there. And they're literally thought that they were accomplishing something by standing there like a bunch of idiots, hands off Chicago. And then it has parts of the Chicago flag. Have you seen those signs?
Uh-huh.
I mean, that's how out of touch they are. And they just looked like a bunch of idiots. And they had their yoga mats at their feet, like they're doing something today, honey. I'm going to go to yoga and then I'm going to protest, just show people to stay away from,
Well, we have
for the illegals in my neighborhood.
Yeah, outside my office, we had a bunch of protesters a couple of weeks ago. So my husband and I did a spirit mission. And we went and put up the Vance Trump sign and the American flag right on our second floor balcony just to troll them. And, of course, one of the protesters apparently is on the Wheaton Library Board. There she is with her F-ICE sign. I mean, vulgar signs on a Sunday afternoon in Wheaton.
Oh, my gosh. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, you'll never believe who has a new Substack. Today it's going to be sunny, a high of 39 degrees. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, even warmer, a high of 40. It is now 6 a.m., WIND, Chicago.
A man questioned in the Nancy Guthrie case. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
What were they asking you about?
My whereabouts. Okay. Where was I and all that.
Carlos Palazuelos was detained after a traffic stop and then released. He also tells Fox's Matt Finn someone had suggested he might look like the masked man in video footage released from outside Nancy Guthrie's home when she was kidnapped. They also took his phone and searched his house.
There were all types of, law enforcement vehicles, police tape, the red and blue lights, and then all of a sudden investigators just packed it up and took off.
Fox's Matt Finn outside Carlos's home in Rio Rico, Arizona.
A woman came out from the house as well who identified herself as Carlos's mother-in-law. And she actually said that investigators told her that they were tipped off that Nancy Guthrie was being held here. And this is what she said on camera. And she goes, there's no one here. Feel free to enter. So she seemed pretty transparent. But Carlos seemed the same way. He said, look, I told him I have nothing to do with this. You could enter my home. You could do whatever you would like.
It's day 11 of the search for the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. It's quiet at the airport in El Paso, Texas. All flights, commercial, private, cargo, to and from there have been canceled. Fox's Chris Foster has details.
The airspace over El Paso, Texas, and part of southern New Mexico is closed for the next 10 days through late February 20th. The Federal Aviation Administration says it's for special security reasons, not saying what those reasons are. A statement from El Paso International Airport says the closures came on short notice and travelers should contact their airlines.
They're in shock in Western Canada. Someone went on a shooting spree at a school in the small town of Tumbler Ridge, murdering 7 people, wounding about 25 others, then killing herself.
We can't imagine what the community is going through, but I know it's causing us all to hug our kids a little bit tighter.
British Columbia Premier David Eby police found 2 other people shot dead in a nearby home. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 28 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Immigration officials from the Trump administration have testified before the House Homeland Security Committee as the deadline approaches to fund the Department of Homeland Security. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons says all agents have been trained to deal with protests.
The acting head of ICE, Todd Lyons, faced tough questions from many Democrats like Representative Dan Goldman of New York.
Mr. Lyons, what guidance have you given to your agents about asking people walking on the streets of America to show proof of citizenship?
We conduct targeted intelligence-driven operation. We don't walk around on the streets asking people about their American citizenship.
Really? So all of those individual American citizens who have been randomly asked are lying. Is that what you're saying?
Lyons also insisted there's no database of Americans protesting the ICE operations.
Judges in Oregon, Minnesota, and here in Chicago have issued rulings limiting how federal agents can use tear gas to respond to protests, though some appeals courts have halted some of those rulings. There's been growing backlash after federal immigration agents shot and killed 2 U.S. citizens in separate incidents in Minneapolis. Democrats want a number of reforms to how ICE and Border Patrol operate, including requiring agents to remove their masks and identify themselves like other law enforcement officers. And the owner of a horse stable has been accused of sexually abusing a teenaged employee. According to reports, Raymond Kressel of Richmond is facing several charges, including criminal sexual abuse and assault. Officials say Kressel groomed the girl and began abusing her when she was just 15 years old. Kressel's being held at the McHenry County Jail without bond. This report is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
On Thursday, February 26th, at Benedictine University in Lisle, AM 560 is hosting a Republican debate. Come hear the candidates for governor and U.S. Senate make their cases for why they should win your vote in the primary election. Be a part of the process to defeat J.B. Pritzker and replace Dick Durbin. Tickets are free, but registration is required. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/debate. That's 560theanswer.com/debate.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-884-1012 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-884-1012. That's 800-884-1012. What do you have to lose? Call 800-884-1012. Again, 800-884-1012.
Safety. It's so important at your industrial facility. You need to keep your personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. One problem with your ladders, platforms, or safety guards, and you could be facing costly fines. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a business owner, I realize the importance of keeping my employees safe, and I'm here to offer my expertise. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment, including walkways, handrails, stairways, and machinery guards. Our Vans Industrial team can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality goods, and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANS Industrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Looking great on the Edens, 14 minutes both ways from Lee Cook to Montrose, just 8 minutes on the Kennedy in both directions from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, and you're at 14 minutes both ways on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. No delays on the Stevenson, 24 minutes in, 22 out from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Watch out for a crash on the Dan Ryan inbound north of 87th Street, still just 13 minutes inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 11. A little bit sluggish inbound on the express lanes from Pershing Road to 31st Street. News is a service of the Will County Freedom Caucus. Celebrate America's 250th birthday on February 15th at Crystal Grand Ballroom in Lamont. Hear U.S. Senate candidate Don Tracy and gubernatorial candidates Darren Bailey, James Mendrick, and Ted Dabrowski. Get your tickets today at willcountyfreedom.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 41. Expect increasing cloudiness tonight with a low of 27. Tomorrow will be cloudy most of the time, reaching a high of 41. On Friday, anticipate periods of clouds and sunshine with a high of 51. Saturday will bring plenty of sunshine with a high of 53. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
He just doesn't know when to give up. Good morning. Amy Jacobson here, Jeannie Ives, in for Dan Proft on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We're in for him. We are not substituting for him. There's no substitute for Dan.
No, and he'll be back tomorrow and Friday. He doesn't know when to take an L, and I'm not talking about Dan on the golf course. I'm talking about Mayor Brandon Johnson. When asked about his ICE on notice EO, calling for prosecution of ICE agents, basically he wants Chicago police to arrest and charge federal agents who might be acting out of line. But who defines what acting out of line is anyway? But it got shot down by our Cook County State's attorney. But he won't stop. And asked about it yesterday. He can't just say, you know what? I'm taking the L. I'm going to move on to other things. No, he is obsessed with this. And everything has a title. So this title is ICE on Notice.
What I'm encouraged by, to the last part of your question about whether or not this should be a priority, there are district attorneys all over the country who are organizing around this very issue. The district attorney from Philadelphia, Larry Krasner, and a number of other district attorneys have made it very clear that accountability in this moment is paramount to saving lives and securing our democracy. And you're also seeing mayors across this country look at the model that we've established in this city through executive order, and they're beginning the process of implementing those executive orders that we have initiated in Chicago in their respective cities and their counties. So that's the part that I'm encouraged by. So it's going to be incumbent upon all of us to use our authority at every single level of government, whether it's local municipalities or district attorneys or state's attorneys, to ensure that there's a clear pathway for accountability, because that's what the people of this city want. That's what people across the country are calling for.
I live in the city. No, we don't want that. So he basically said district attorneys all around the country who are organizing around this very issue. And he named just one, the Philadelphia DA, who's very far left, Larry Krasner.
Well, he's also proud of the fact that this is going to be the first city in the country to set the groundwork to prosecute ICE and Border Patrol agents for criminal misconduct. This is another one of those first in the nation bills that we don't need. The SAFE-T Act was one of the first in the nations, oh, by the way, and that's been a disaster. But this got shot down completely by the Cook County State's attorney. It's going nowhere.
And it's funny because he got publicly rebuked by the state's attorney's office, and he just doubles down on stupid. I mean, doesn't he learn anything? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on that very same line, because he needs to focus on other things. He needs to cut his losses and move on. But he's not the only one obsessed with this. Tell us about somebody who has a new Substack.
So JB Pritzker, in case you missed it, has a brand new Substack out. And on his Substack, first of all, he's got this interview with Steve Schmidt in conversation with J.B. Pritzker, part of the Save America movement. And by the way, this is the same sort of rhetoric you're going to hear from Brandon Johnson, that you're going to hear from J.B. Pritzker, that you're going to hear from all of them. They want to use the word authoritarian. Authoritarian, that's accountability, authoritarian, affordability. They got this whole alliteration thing going on, apparently. And so J.B. Pritzker, who shamefully compared Trump supporters and Trump himself to the Nazis and the Nazi movements, has doubled down on it. He's not backing away. In his first Substack article, which, by the way, does anybody think he's writing this himself?
I'm guessing he might have a ghostwriter, just like he has somebody who listens to this show every day. Do you know that?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
That's
I'd love to trigger him. That'd be great if we triggered him.
Trigger.
But but his first Substack is called "The State of Illinois is Being Loud for America." He's going to lead the charge, and he doubles down on this. Like, you can't give Donald Trump an inch, he writes. He talks about his budget address that he put together last year, which, of course, he said it took Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic. All I'm saying is, when a 5-alarm fire starts to burn, every good person better be ready to man a post with a bucket of water if you want to stop it from raging out of control. He has not stopped on this. And in the Steve Schmidt interview, I don't know if you have the clip,
I do.
He goes down and talks more about Trump being authoritarian, more Nazi comparison.
And of course, when you're growing up, especially when you're Jewish and you learn about the Holocaust, you think about, what would you do? What would you do if the person next door, they're not targeting you, but it's somebody else? What would you do if you know what's happening is wrong? Would you stand up? Would you do the right thing? Would you hide them? Would you speak out? And the survivors, they know what people should have done. And they also, believed strongly that the only way you can stop something like this, like, the diminution of rights, the taking away of your democracy, and then many worse things that happen to them. The only way to stop them is to do it early and loudly, because every day that goes by when we're not standing up and pushing back, they're gaining power because they already have the reins of power. And so everything that you're not doing to stop them is just an advancement for them. So we've all got to be on alert. We've all got to react to what I've called the 5-alarm fire. And we got to do it early. And I think we're a year in. I think it's early enough. And I'm proud that there are a lot of people doing it. But for me anyway, I feel like it's my obligation. And he threatened to jail me, as he has several other people now, including the mayor of Chicago and Governor Walz and so on. But when he did that to me, I said, come and get me.
Jail him. Look, now he's denying that, like, Trump, he's having the governors over to the White House, and he's complaining. Honestly, like, Governor Pritzker declines an invitation that he didn't receive. So
for a dinner.
Yeah, for
yes.
dinner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, if you read his Substack, it keeps comparing Trump to the Holocaust, saying, Donald Trump is not an ordinary political adversary. He's an active threat, echoes of another dark chapter, reminds me of 1930s Germany. I mean, this is the same blather, the same inflammatory rhetoric, and they don't know how to move on from that either. And he said that I worked with Holocaust survivors to build the Illinois Holocaust Museum.
But when he made this Nazi comparison, which was unmistakable in last year's budget address, first of all, the press recognized it as a Nazi comparison. All of the press did. Liberal, conservative, they all recognized it. And he was chastised. And in fact, Rabbi David Katz, the executive director of the Israel Heritage Foundation, said, Governor J.B. Pritzker's comparison of the Trump administration to the Nazi regime is deeply disturbing and unacceptable. And so when he was chastised for that, what did he do? He denied the Nazi comparison. Do we have that clip?
How is it not an insult to half the American public who voted for Trump when you're talking about Trump being a Nazi?
Those words never came out of my mouth. That is not true, what you just said.
Here's what I will say. I think it was important to talk about the destruction of a constitutional republic.
But Amy, that Substack that he wrote, like you had just read, this echoes another dark chapter in our history, early 1930s Germany. He is 100% doubling down on making the Nazi comparison, calling half of America Nazis. You don't make those comparisons.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. That's not our answer line anymore. Just call us at 312-642-5600, or you could text us on that very same number. Got a text message from Alex P. Keaton, 630 area code. Jeannie and Amy, is Pritzker's Substack called Tubby Talk? There you go.
Hey, maybe we, go ahead and call in with your recommendations. So if Pritzker's team is listening in, we're happy to identify your Substack.
What would it be called? Loudmouth? What's a good Substack? Do Substacks have titles? There's Substacks podcasts, Yannicast. There's everything you can imagine. But another text message. Jeannie is Heidner is in the race for. Okay, let me try this again. Heidner is running for governor on the Republican side. Is he in the race because Pritzker is trying to steal votes from Dabrowski?
There's a lot of us who suspect that he is doing a favor for J.B. Pritzker because he was kind of on the ropes, and his gambling license was suspended, and apparently, from what I'm told from people in the know, he was sweating it out. He was going to lose a lot, so he got his gambling license back.
Is that because he gave or donated $25,000 to Brandon Johnson, or is this separate?
This is a separate incident. Okay, so that's one thing. People think that he kind of owes Pritzker a favor because, quite frankly, he's got the money to be doing much more than he is doing. He's, from what I can tell, sent out one mailer, and he's up on streaming services. He's putting out the YouTube ads. He's spent a lot of money.
News a lot.
Yeah, he spent a lot of money to do some of that, but he's not. First of all, he's not penetrating to the actual voters. He's very uncomfortable in front of a Republican audience when you see him out at these events, and I have seen him out of them. He does not circulate. He does not go out and greet the people at all. So he's not making a good impression. He's not working the room like you need to win the votes over. So
is it
some
fair
people
to say
suspect
he's a Democratic plant?
I don't know if we can go that far. I have no idea, but I think it's just very weird how he's running his campaign if he's really intent on winning. The other thing that people know, Republican voters need to know, though, Rick Heidner, he is a transactional type of guy. That's what he does. He's donated to Brandon Johnson $25,000, and he admitted in debate that he did so he could get in front of Brandon Johnson to bring his businesses into Chicago that weren't there. So this isn't like a donation from 20 years ago to a radical Democrat. This is in 2023 donation to Brandon Johnson. And he donated to Kim Foxx, gave her $2,500 in 2015, which got her elected. She got elected in 2016.
And look at how many people have
And then he wants to decry the Safety Act. So, Heidner would be a disaster. He's also supported some of these crony tax credits already for businesses, and then he's doing these populist things like, we're going to give first-time home buyers a tax credit. No, I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in supplying people with tax credits to buy a home in the state of Illinois. There's a lot of other things that you can do to bring down the price of housing. First of all, handling property taxes. And so the fact that he goes straight to a tax credit, taking other people's money to give to other people who probably mismanaged their money in the past, which is part of the reason they can't buy into a home. I'm not interested. So he's not smart, and he doesn't know policy whatsoever.
Let's go to the phone lines. We talked about Governor Pritzker, in case you're just waking up, has a new Substack, and we need a title for it. Well, looky here, the Amish Texter. Whoa, what an honor. Are you calling from the tin can string line here that we have for you?
And the buggy phone. Good morning, ladies, and so glad to hear you guys together. And been listening to the new show with Jeannie. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jelly Belly does have a Substack. It's 20 foot tall, and it's provided by Subway.
Hey-o. All right.
That's a good one.
Thank you, Amish
I sent a
Texter.
meme. All right.
Have a great day. Love you to
You
pieces.
too. I love you guys.
If you
Bye.
guys don't follow him on X, you should.
He's
Amish
great.
Texter.
Yep.
It's the greatest thing. This picture is, and that's him in the picture.
Okay.
That's not AI generated, ladies. That's the real man. All right, let's go to Rob in Wheaton. Hi, Rob.
Hello.
Hello.
Judy and Amy. Amy, I saw you up in Milwaukee at that volleyball tournament a couple weeks ago on my birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, we passed each other very quickly with a hello.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm sorry. You know what? I did. I had a game to coach, so I had to get.
No, I understand. You're coaching. You're in don't bother me mode. I get it. Hello, Judy. Hello, neighbor.
Hi, Rob.
Yeah, the Amish texture stole my thunder about Substack, but I think Pancake Stack might be a good one. And
Pancake Stack, like that.
Maybe Transfat. He writes his own material because he mentions things like 5-alarm fire, and I'm just thinking about a 5-alarm burrito or something. So, I don't know. I can't come up with a better name after the Amish text who took my thunder. But nice to hear from y'all, and I'm listening on 11 o'clock every day.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
I kind of like
appreciate that.
Pancake Stack.
Pancake Stack is not
That's pretty
bad.
good.
Stack of subs. That's another one that came in. A stack of you know what. Can't say that. Let's go. And then here's another one. Heidner and Bailey need to get out of the race and let Ted get in. Ted's got my vote.
Well, they're already on the ballot, so
yeah.
We just need people to use their networks and let people know who the only option to beat Pritzker is Ted Dabrowski. That's it.
Yeah, my whole family's voting for Ted.
Wonderful.
All 7 of us. No. Well, then you've got cousins and, like network.
Does that
Just
include
start
Bunky?
Talking to me. No, I don't let my dog vote. Thanks, Jeannie. Thanks a lot. I have to get him a fake ID first. I have to pretend that he's an illegal from Guatemala. El Boncato. Ese es mi perro. And then we'll get him an ID, and then, he'll be fine. He'll be all set. Let's go to Ron on the south side. Good morning, Ron.
Yes, good morning, ladies. Definitely Ted has my vote. But, Governor Pritzker is just a disgusting liar, okay? Period. He is, Brandon's an idiot. But Pritzker, he is garbage. And the thing about it, people that let him get away with making those reckless, irresponsible comparisons and constantly talking about nonsense, they're just as bad. So that's it, y'all. We have to try to get out for Ted. This guy is he's trash. You all have a good day. I'll be listening later on. Have a good one.
Thanks, Ron.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Stay tuned for a special message from Angel Dad Joe Abraham about his daughter Katie.
Put yourself in my shoes. I just spent my first Christmas without Katie. My daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant Governor Pritzker protected. Imagine her final breaths, knowing that you would have given your life for hers, but you didn't have the chance. Put your child in Katie's shoes. Think of the unfulfilled dreams, the unrealized joys, and the permanent loss. I'm not a political guy, but when politicians unleash violent criminals, we all need to get involved. We can do better, and we must do better. Ted Dabrowski would have protected Katie, and he'll protect your children the way I wish someone had protected mine.
I'm Ted Dabrowski, and I approve this message.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and Yelp and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
AM 560, The Answer.
Speaking of Rick Heidner, and these video gaming machines, I mean, they're coming. Says, because according to the budget, to generate revenue, significant revenue. They're going to be rolling out in 2026, and they've already started. You can have up to 6 slots in restaurants, at a bar, or other venues. And I'm thinking that the other venue might be Midway and Chicago airports, because think about that.
Captured audience, of course.
People are stuck. They have nowhere to
Yes.
go. They don't want to leave the terminal because they don't want to wait in that TSA line to get back in.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to look like a mini Las Vegas. And our friends over are Gina Giorgetti's, and we'll try and get her on. She was very interested because they cut their lease. They had a 10-year lease, and they just cut it after. And she thinks that video gaming is going in there. That's why, because they can generate more revenue, make more money. But a deal's a deal, right? But not in Chicago.
No.
So Heidner, he's involved in
video gaming and real estate. That's how he's made his money. And look, let's face it though, like the gaming revenue that enters in through the tax revenue that enters in through the general revenue budget, which is what we're probably most concerned about. I mean, it's only about $200 million. That's in a $55.3 billion budget, it's not that much.
And
So
it's going to change the way, and Justin, which I'm going to call on you again, Justin, because he's a video gamer, right? Or gambler or slots. What do you call yourself? You non-colonoscopized person.
I wouldn't say a video gamer. I
Gamer.
see the other side of this. I do know the bad and the downsides of it because the pot dispensary is going up on every corner about, once a week now these days. But I personally don't see too much of the problem here.
Well, you live
Maybe I'm
out in the
wrong.
burbs. My dad lives in Round Lake, and every time we'd go to Frog Cutters or somewhere, there's always gaming machines there. And I'm just fascinated. I'm staring at it, and he's used to it. He doesn't play them. But it just changes the whole tapestry, the whole feel of the bar and the restaurant.
I don't have a problem with people gambling, quite frankly. I have a problem with it being ubiquitous and being so easy to do. And then the state spending money on the backside to take care of gambling disorders. There's a brand new bill to support gambling disorders. Meanwhile, they're promoting gambling as a tax revenue.
I know.
It's just, there's a disconnect here.
Don't even get me started. I mean, I can go into a whole how kids are gambling on their
Everything.
apps, on their phones, on their Apple
It's so
Watch.
easy to do it.
Trust me, you guys don't even know what's coming down the pipe. In a few years, there's going to be gambling anonymous chapters set up everywhere because kids are gaming that are in their early teens. They suck you in. They give you free money on these apps.
That's right.
And then I'll never forget when my son said, well, no, they gave me $300. I go, no. Nobody gives anybody anything for free. This is how they suck you in. And either you're going to deal with it now or you're going to have a gambling problem later. Because I've seen people who've not paid their gambling.
It is addictive.
I've seen people who've not paid their gambling debts back in the day in Tucson. They were waiting for him in the parking lot. Another incident at WMAQ where they were waiting for him with baseball bats, like old school bashing of the knees kind of things. And I never want to see that again. And God forbid if that happens to anybody you know or love. I mean, it is scary stuff. Back when people had bookies.
Right. So, like Dan has said, the mob economy used to be run by the mob. Now it's run by the state.
Very good. All right. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, anti-vaxxers, listen up. You could be charged with a civil penalty or a criminal charge if you act up. We'll explain. But now let's get the headlines.
Good morning. It's 28 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Attorneys for the woman shot by ICE agents last October say they're planning on filing a civil lawsuit on her behalf. That news comes following the release of body cam footage which shows what Miramar Martinez's attorneys have said from the beginning. ICE agents in the video are showed backing into a vehicle after noting that they were boxed in. Text messages that are released show agents commenting, quote, "good shooting, LOL," and quote, "gracias, senor." A Chicago alderman is urging city officials to support legislation in Springfield that would require Cook County to reimburse local taxing districts for losses caused by the county's delinquent distribution of property tax proceeds. Jim Talamonte has the story.
Alderman Brendan Riley encouraged the city's legislative team to support House Bill 5241 and Senate Bill 3638. The measures would require Cook County to pay for interest lost and debts incurred because of delinquent payments.
This news report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again. Not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
He's tried to mellow out.
For what reason, nobody knows.
But it didn't take.
Let me guess.
Sean Thompson.
It's not political party per se. It's character. And every decent American should be outraged at the idea that this goes unreported for a decade. It is unfracking believable that every decent American doesn't want to light the torches.
The Sean Thompson Show. Weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey, it's Mike Gallagher, hoping you'll join me on the unforgettable Gulf of America cruise happening in November of 2026. Imagine this: turquoise waters, white sand beaches, incredible food, insightful conversations about the future of America. Scott Jennings and I will be your hosts. We'll dive into the issues shaping America as we cruise through some of the most stunning destinations while honoring the 250th anniversary of our nation. Book your cabin today. Text the word cruise to 94878. Text cruise to 94878 or visit MikeOnline.com.
40,000 people. That's enough to pack Wrigley Field. I'm talking about 40,000 people who realized hip and knee surgery wasn't their only option. There has to be another way. Guess what? There is. They found it at QC Kinetics, an alternative to surgery. I know this because I've met these patients. They are moving better and hurting less thanks to QC Kinetics' advanced regenerative treatments. Surgery isn't always the answer. Do your research and talk with my friends at QC Kinetics. They offer natural treatments backed by real science. They will activate your body's natural healing power. Safe, natural, non-surgical. Osteoarthritis only gets worse, so don't wait. Get started this month. 40,000 people can't be wrong. Before you choose surgery, talk with QC Kinetics and tell them Dan Prof sent you. That's me. Call today, 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. After my husband died, the last thing I wanted to think about was money. Ethos made it affordable to get life insurance. Signing up was fast and 100% online. I knew that I could pay our mortgage and have food in the fridge. I could focus on my kids. No one ever tells you how much you're going to depend on that policy. I am so grateful we had coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on the Kennedy Express lanes northbound right at North Avenue and Division Street, all because of a crash at Division Street. It is just stop and go, but the main roadway is just 9 minutes inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 8. You're looking great on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, just about 15 minutes both ways and 14 minutes in both directions on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Inbound Stevenson is 27 minutes from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 22. 15 minutes inbound on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 11. This report is a service of Discover. Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/credit card. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 41. Tonight, expect increasing cloudiness with a low of 27. Tomorrow will be cloudy most of the time, reaching a high of 41. On Friday, anticipate periods of clouds and sunshine with a high of 51. Saturday is expected to have plenty of sunshine with a high of 53. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
All right, we love to talk House bills here, but this House bill we need to pay attention to. Because you anti-vaxxers out there, sometimes, you get a little lippy, and it's all right. I have anti-vaxxer friends. I can, and I believe in the freedom of choice. But now you might be charged with a civil penalty or a crime if you act up. Jeannie, tell us about this and introduce our next guest, because this is something people have to know about.
Well, it's House Bill 4596. Again, this is another one of those authoritarian type bills that Governor Pritzker is going to be happy to sign should it pass the House and the Senate. But it's the Health Misinformation Act, and they actually have health misinformation response units.
Health
misinformation response units,
Oh,
as
so
if this is an emergency.
Oh, yeah. What color scheme are they going to wear in their health?
That's a good question.
Unit?
I don't know.
Are they going to have their own vehicles, with lights and sirens on? So it's more big government.
Well, fortunately, we have a doctor in the House, an actual real doctor, and that is State Representative Bill Hauter. He's also a doctor. He represents the 87th District, and he's the one who alerted me to this bill. And so I wanted to have him on to talk about this bill and some other things happening in Springfield. Dr. Hauter, thanks so much for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, of course.
So tell us about this bill and why we should be concerned.
Well, I mean, you guys were laughing about it, but doesn't it sound Orwellian? Like they have health misinformation response units so they can respond. The government can respond to anything that they consider misinformation out there. So they will respond, and they're going to recruit and train, quote unquote, trusted messengers. These are like figures of like influencers and people that they're going to train in the correct information and send them out there to communicate the right information, accurate, quote unquote. I wish you could see me. I'm doing air quotes like as much as I possibly can. I'm doing air quotes for these trusted messengers and misinformation response units. It's just simply a way for the government to impose their views, what they consider correct information. And you can come up with just multiple scenarios where they're going to have the information that they consider correct, and they could shut down anyone or any information that doesn't come from their viewpoint or their what they consider correct medical information.
Well, give us an example. I mean, I know that this hasn't passed yet, but if somebody says, I'm not taking a measles shot and you shouldn't either, do you think that's inflammatory rhetoric where the members of the healthcare misinformation response unit would respond to my house?
I mean, that's possible. It's to me, the most you could just put it in the terms of some common things that we are still seeing, even from COVID. So you can think about all the information from COVID that was considered conspiracy theories and was incorrect information, or information about the vaccination, the COVID vaccination especially, that was, you're fear mongering, or that's incorrect information. That all can be considered to be incorrect medical information. You can put it in the form of not just vaccination, but also transgender medicine, or so-called transgender medicine, or gender affirming care, if you can see air quotes again. But that's if you said at one time online, and I was banned from Twitter a couple times for saying a man cannot be a woman. And so if that's considered medical misinformation, if you oppose transgender gender affirming, so-called gender affirming care, then you could possibly be not just shut down like it was back before Twitter was taken over by Elon Musk, but you were kicked off. But in this bill, as I read it, you can be prosecuted.
Right. Well, talk more about that. People could face civil or criminal penalties for spreading medical misinformation. I mean, what could you go to jail for this?
Yeah, I mean, the jail or fines, and they want to use the Consumer Protection Act. Jeannie, they used that same thing for a couple years ago. They had tried to do this with pregnancy centers.
That's right.
So here's
House
another
Bill
example of
1909.
pregnancy centers. What's that? Yeah.
Yeah, House Bill 1909.
Yeah, and it lasted for about 2 weeks.
Well, wait, tell us
before
about
was,
it. You didn't. A lot of us don't know
Well,
about that House bill.
This was a bill that said that the Attorney General and of Illinois could decide if pregnancy centers were purveyors of misinformation, or if they were disseminating misinformation. And they didn't give us an example of what that could be. But if they were found to be in violation of the Consumer Protection Act and giving misinformation, which was conceivably anything that was against the state of Illinois, that they could fine these pregnancy centers up to $50,000. And the Attorney General, Kwame Raoul, who is not very good at deciding if a bill is actually constitutional or not, he assured everyone this is totally constitutional. And we, again, over and over said this is unconstitutional. It's compelled speech. It's viewpoint discrimination. It violates freedom of speech, freedom of religion. It was classic viewpoint discrimination. But within 2 weeks, he had abandoned defending the bill after it was passed, and it was found to be unconstitutional immediately.
Yeah, no, that's because
that's the same.
Yeah, the Thomas
Same
More
thing with
Society.
this bill.
Yeah, the Thomas More Society sued immediately for an injunction on that bill. The bill is still law. It's still law. The judge in that case said that this is stupid and very likely unconstitutional. At which point, then the Attorney General Kwame Raoul decided he's just not going to enforce it. However, that law does remain on the books. It's another, and I think that this is in that same realm. This is one of those speech police bills. It's similar also to, I think it was 1526 that is still being litigated. That's the one that says that you don't have rights as a doctor to not refer for abortion. So that's still being litigated. Yep, 7 years post that bill being filed. Thomas More Society is still in a decision about that. The HHS, Trump's HHS, has come down and said, if you don't change this law, we're coming after you. So this is another one of those speech police bills that we see so frequently, and it's written by a lawyer. David Vela is the chief sponsor of this bill. He's out of Rockford, so listeners, listen up, and he should know better about First Amendment rights.
Absolutely, and it's obviously unconstitutional. You can't compel people to speak the words you want them to speak. And that's another area where I think it's easily provable that this is unconstitutional, but it could be used. This bill can be used once again for pregnancy centers. Imagine if a pregnancy center says abortion reversal pill and wants to advertise or on Google their services for the abortion reversal pill, which the state of Illinois would find to be misinformation. They could shut them down with this bill.
Okay, speaking of that, because this just goes right into the next thing I wanted to cover with you, and that is the fact that the abortion pill itself has been found in 11% of the cases to be very harmful to the people taking it, at which point it's under review, I believe, by the CDC. And then Pritzker came in and said, and they filed that bill saying, look, as long as a drug was previously approved and is still approved by the World Health Organization, then we're going to allow its usage in the state of Illinois. And so you couple that with the fact that now, when Trump pulled out of the World Health Organization, Illinois, under Pritzker, decided to join the World Health Organization. Explain what's going on.
Well, we've seen this in a couple bills where they have decided to show that they're anti-Trump and to show how they are battling the Trump administration, especially anything Secretary Kennedy does. And so what they're doing now is abandoning the FDA, HHS, anything that has to do with the Department of Health and Human Services. Any edict that comes out, they're going to oppose, and they're going to show their base how they're fighting the Trump administration by not following any of those guidelines from the CDC, et cetera. And so what they've gone to now is the great liberal department of WHO, the World Health Organization, which the nation does not even, the country does not even participate anymore, and covered itself in glory during COVID by kowtowing to communist China. Basically, this is a communist China-controlled organization, and so they're going to now follow anything from WHO and use WHO vaccination guidelines and WHO abortion guidelines instead of using the FDA, which is the gold standard for drug safety in the United States. I'm not sure, again, how they can abandon the drug safety requirements of the FDA, but that's what they are trying to do.
Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Howder, for coming on and explaining all this to our listeners so that more people are informed. And I think it also really points out to the fact that depending on who you select as governor, they actually do have a lot of power. And it will make a difference. A lot of people want to be such negative, like, if Ted Dabrowski gets in, what can he do when he's got a Democrat legislature? Well, here's what he can do. He can pull us out of this garbage. He can run the agencies effectively and, have people like you as his counsel instead of folks like, Juliana Stratton.
Yeah, I mean, the ability to name department heads, I think there was like 2,500 appointments that the governor of Illinois can make, and you can change overnight whole departments and the trajectory of Illinois. And the governorship would be such a key way to gain back control of some sanity in this state.
All right, thank you, Dr. Bill Howder, Republican state representative from Illinois' 87th district and a physician, and he joined us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
John was an active man. He'd go for runs, walk the golf course, and always take the stairs instead of the elevator. But then bone-on-bone knee pain got in the way and affected his mobility. It became too painful to even go for walks. And when it seemed like John's only option was knee replacement surgery, a friend told him about the Joint Relief Institute and their affordable, non-surgical knee pain relief. John met with the Joint Relief Institute and discovered their lubricating gel treatment could rejuvenate his lost cartilage. Safe, effective, no surgery. Long story short, John is now back to being active without pain or medication.
There is an alternative to knee replacement surgery. Stop living in pain. Call the Joint Relief Institute today, 708-315-6800, or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oak Brook, and Orland Park. That's 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
Chicago businesses, you can't afford to be down. You don't have time to wait for IT support. You need one company that does IT well and does it right. Meet Access One, your local Chicagoland IT experts. Access One has been powering Chicago businesses with secure, reliable IT solutions for over 30 years from our headquarters right here in the West Loop. Whether it's VoIP phones, dedicated internet, managed cybersecurity, cloud backups, or 24/7 support, Access One is here for you. Chicago owned, Chicago run, and serving thousands of companies from Naperville to the North Shore. Access One is the trusted IT partner for law firms, clinics, tech startups to manufacturers. Rated top 5% in customer satisfaction and a Better Business Bureau A+ rated business. Access One is your one vendor for everything tech. Let's talk. Call 800-654-1555 or visit accessoneInc.com. That's accessoneInc.com. Tech made personal, locally.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-884-1012 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-884-1012. That's 800-884-1012. What do you have to lose? Call 800-884-1012. Again, 800-884-1012.
You know, there's nothing wrong with flying first class. Of course, everybody's got that cheapskate uncle that always says the back of the plane lands at the same time as the front of the plane. I guess there's some sort of cheapskate logic in that. However, the door is in the front of the plane. So why not get to first class? After all, they have dishes, silverware, glasses, warm towels. And if you want to sit at first class, or you aspire to, all you need is a little planning from Alpha Wealth Group. Their goal is to help maximize your income in retirement. Since you can't take it with you, there's no point in squandering your time. After all, the warm towels make the ride fun. Call Tom Fortino and Alpha Wealth Group for their complimentary roadmap to retirement, so you can take a first-class flight and not worry about the cost. Call 630-864-6711. That number again, 630-864-6711. 630-864-6711 or online at alphawealthgroup.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Real quick, text message. Jeannie, Amy, when will that legislation be voted on? Please provide specifics, please.
No, we'll provide specifics, but right now the legislation, all the bill filing date was Friday for all the bills. And so they're just now going to start to go to committees. The House is back in session. This is a House bill, by the way, next week for the governor's budget address. And then, of course, they take off for a couple weeks. So they're not going to get really into committee work until into March. But we will keep track of this bill, and we will make sure that listeners know what's going on.
And it was authored by Dave Villa from Rockford.
Dave Villa. From
I
Rockford. He's a
changed-
lawyer.
I changed his name to Spanish.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Dave Villa. Dave Villa.
I think he's
Vella.
Italian. I don't
Okay,
know.
but he's an attorney.
Apparently, that's
An
what it says.
attorney.
He's a lawyer. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Speech commissar. This is Orwellian stuff. And Pritzker wants to pretend he's not authoritarian. He will sign this in a heartbeat, just like he signed the other two bills that were trampled on First Amendment rights.
Well, are there any reasonable Democrats?
No,
in
there's none.
Wait, no, in the state, in the House, or in the
None.
state Senate that would not vote for this?
No, there's
Not a
none.
one.
Not a one. Not a one. They have all been captured by the progressive left, and they vote almost consistently with them. The only time that we saw a little bit of separation was that the assisted suicide bill barely passed with 61 votes. So there were Democrats that did not want that vote for either because they were protecting they think the developmentally disabled or black, but they did not want the bill, so that barely passed the assisted suicide bill.
And then there's other House bills too that are as crazy as this, if not. I think it's the Senate bill, or maybe it's the House bill that says that if you work for ICE or for Border Patrol, you can't work as a police officer in the state of Illinois.
Yes, they do have that bill out there. I've been going through the bills, but it's like over 700 pages of just the synopsis. I've not gone through all of them, but there's a number of terrible bills, and I'll start to highlight those more as we continue.
But this
on.
is one of the first of the crazy ones.
Yeah, this is a crazy bill.
I mean, it reminds me of Europe, where in London
Right.
or in the UK, if you say something online that's defamatory to the government, knock, 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 the police come there and they take you away. It's not.
And Trump's the authoritarian.
Yeah, that's the greatest thing ever. Oh, and then the best is they had a debate, Meet the Candidates last night event for the Democrats. I don't know if you saw it, because that's, the election is coming up soon, folks, in case you haven't heard. And Illinois Democrat candidates hosted a meet and greet. And guess what they required at the door?
I don't know.
An ID to enter the event. So Democrats want you to ID yourself to meet them, but they don't want people to ID in order to vote. They're hypocrites. And that SAVE Act, I mean, hopefully, Murkowski from Alaska, she voted
Did you
no
hear that?
on it.
Yeah, she said she's not going to vote for it.
Did she give a reason why? Because your family lives in Alaska. Aren't you tuned into Alaskan politics?
Not really.
Do they like her up there?
No, my kids don't. No, are you kidding? I raised conservatives, Amy, and they married conservatives, Amy.
See, that's
so I'm doing my part for the movement, folks.
Well, I have
5 kids, all conservative, 3 spouses, all conservative.
But what if one of their spouses wasn't conservative?
Well, they'd have to deal with them.
Right. Well,
And-
Mama Bear, Jeannie Ives here, you wouldn't say anything?
They're not going to do it. Like my daughter told her boyfriend, if you're not Catholic, I can't marry you. And they had just started dating.
Really?
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
did he
no.
convert
I mean,
them?
that's not coming from me, by the way.
No.
She just.
Well,
I was like, all right, I'm glad.
I was doing well, Jeannie, and then I lost him in Trump's second term. So,
Well, I've had parents come up to me like, "What do I do about my child?" I'm like, "You're the primary influencer. Stop paying their cell phone bill. Whatever. If you're still paying their cell phone bill and they're not aligned with you on some of this stuff."
oh, you are hardcore.
Oh
I
hell
love it.
yeah!
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, 2 years too late. Why Catherine Herridge is now acting like a victim. Today, plenty of sunshine, warm, a high of 39. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, a high of 40. It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
A man detained, then questioned. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That is the big development in the Nancy Guthrie case.
So right now, all I know is that they show my in-law a picture of somebody wearing a mask or something, and they supposedly look like my eyes.
Right. Okay.
That's it. That's all I know.
That's Carlos Palazuelos talking to Fox's Matt Finn after he was released and his home was searched, saying they had asked him where he was around the time of the Guthrie kidnapping and took his phone.
He says he's a free man. He wants his name cleared. He doesn't want to be associated with the Guthrie case. So it's not quite clear what investigators got from this search. Perhaps they'll be able to extract something from his cell phone or, I don't know, perhaps DNA.
Fox's Matt Finn outside Carlos's home in Rio Rico, Arizona, south of Tucson.
Really, really we're kind of back to square one in the sense that there's no identified suspects, no identified persons of interest at this point, and no arrests.
And it's day 11 of the Nancy Guthrie search. A lot of people are rescheduling flights to and from El Paso, Texas, after the FAA late last night canceled all flights for 10 days.
Commercial airlines operating out of El Paso are being informed of the restriction, which appears to be security related. This is the first time all flights to and from a major airport in the U.S. have been grounded since after the 9/11 terror attacks.
Fox's Todd Pyro. In Western Canada, they're trying to figure out why. After a shooting spree in a small town of Tumbler Ridge at a school that left 8 people dead, including the shooter.
Police believe 2 more bodies found at a nearby home are connected. A woman, who officers think was the shooter, died of what's described as a self-inflicted injury. Around 24 others were injured. One student described classmates barricading themselves in their classroom with chairs and tables.
That's Fox's Jonathan Savage. We'll get a big update of the economy later this hour. The jobs report. Pushback from last Friday by last week's partial government shutdown, expecting to show a hiring slowdown from December. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 28 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560, The Answer. I'm Stace Keen in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A Chicago alderman says the city's Complete Streets program is a disaster that's costing taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars. Jim Talamonte has the story.
According to the Chicago Department of Transportation, the city had 30% fewer traffic fatalities in 2024 than in 2021. CDOT Assistant Commissioner Dave Smith addressed the City Council's Committee on Pedestrian and Traffic Safety on Monday.
When we design our streets for those most in need, we make the streets safer for everybody.
Smith cited enhanced crosswalks, curb ramps and extensions, bikeways, and bus boarding islands. Alderman Raymond Lopez said Complete Streets has been a complete disaster for the Brighton Park neighborhood.
But you've been acting in a very rogue and unaccountable way.
A Chicago Heights woman has been indicted in federal court on charges of preparing more than 25 fraudulent tax returns for clients of her suburban tax preparation business. Prosecutors say 43-year-old Jadine Brown prepared and assisted in the preparation of fraudulent returns from 2020 to 2024 on behalf of Hall Tax and Services Corp. of Flossmoor. Brown has pleaded not guilty to 28 tax-related counts. And the Federal Emergency Management Agency has denied the state of Illinois' appeal for a major disaster declaration following severe storms and flooding that affected Boone, Cook, Kane, McHenry, and Wilk counties last August. FEMA reaffirmed its initial decision that supplemental federal assistance was just not warranted. Governor J.B. Pritzker says the agency's decision is politically motivated. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you could save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Hugh Hewitt doesn't see the president flinching.
He has made a couple of social media posts today that are pretty indicative of his intention to be very serious with the mullahs. And the Ayatollahs had better be paying attention because President Trump is not messing around.
There's another beautiful armada floating beautifully toward Iran right now.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-884-1012 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-884-1012. That's 800-884-1012. What do you have to lose? Call 800-884-1012. Again, 800-884-1012.
When someone you love is living with memory loss, finding the right care isn't just important, it's everything. At Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace, memory care isn't an add-on, it's all we do.
When Mom moved into Terra Vista, everything changed.
She's safe, engaged, and surrounded by people who truly understand dementia. And I finally get to just be her daughter again.
Terra Vista was built specifically for caring for those with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, with secure indoor and outdoor spaces, innovative therapies, and a community that feels like home. Residents stay active, connected, and respected every single day.
And the best part? Mom can live with dignity, and I have peace of mind.
If memory care is in your future, choose the community designed for it. Choose Terra Vista of Oak Brook Terrace. Schedule a tour today at terravista.org. Again, that's terravista.org, and tell them AM 560 sent you. Terra Vista, where memory care lives.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hawkbrook Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Still looking good on the Edens, about 16 minutes both ways from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy is 12 in from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 10 on the outbound side. The northbound Tri-State slows down approaching the Eisenhower, and the Eisenhower is stop and go inbound between Wolf Road and Harlem Avenue. So right now it's 28 minutes between Wolf to the old post office. Outbound is 19. 39 minutes in on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 24. 23 in on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 12, and jams on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. News is a service of the Chicago Wolves. Chicago Wolves hockey returns to Allstate Arena on Saturday, February 14th with the Wolves annual Faith and Fellowship Night and Teddy Bear Toss. Join the Chicago Wolves for some fun hockey when they play the Colorado Eagles, and stay for the post-game Faith and Fellowship Q&A with Wolf star Josiah Slavine. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 41. Tonight, expect increasing cloudiness with a low of 27. Tomorrow will be cloudy most of the time, reaching a high of 41. On Friday, anticipate periods of clouds and sunshine with a high of 51. Saturday is expected to have plenty of sunshine with a high of 53. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Two years too late. Good morning, Amy Jacobson here, Jeannie Eyes. We are in for Dan Proft today, and you can listen to us every day, Monday through Friday, on The Real Story from 11 a.m. to noon. And call in. We love to hear. We love participation, and it's been
call in, text in.
Yeah, text in. Watch us at the Breakthrough Ideas YouTube channel or AM 560's Facebook page, and we're cooking. I mean, it's been a few weeks, but. Or not even a few weeks, but we're fresh, we're new, and we're exciting. And you should listen to us. Did I sell that or what? Gosh.
Very good. You're excellent. Very good at promoting our show. So I wanted to cover this story because as soon as I saw this, I just, part of what we're doing here, Amy, is we're also going to call out the media and the journalists who want to play victim, who get the stories wrong, who are, a day late and a dollar short. In this case, that's exactly who Catherine Herridge is. Now, she's a well-respected journalist.
Yeah, she started off in Fox and then moved on to CBS. She has excellent sources in the Pentagon, and I've always trusted her.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has trusted her, and she has a bombshell revelation. And this is the CBS investigative journalist Catherine Herridge has gone public with explosive allegations. CBS executives deliberately, this is what she says, CBS executives deliberately buried the Hunter Biden laptop story and ordered her to wait until after the 2022 midterms to help the Democratic Party. Here's what she said in a clip.
We eventually broadcast a story about the Hunter Biden laptop after the midterm elections in 2022. We commissioned a forensic review. I got a copy of the laptop data. I have it here still. I went to a lot of effort to get the cleanest copy of the laptop data, the same data that was provided to the FBI, because I didn't want to have any professional journalistic risk for CBS News. I wanted this thing to be totally locked down. When we did the story, we did it after the midterms. I argued against that because it was ready before the midterms. And my training is that you should always do the story when it's ready to go. You should not be dictated by the political cycle. Once we got the laptop story on the morning news, I felt that there was so much there that we could still do. For example, in the text messages, there's unfortunately the use of the N-word, the liberal use of the N-word. And I thought this was worthy of a story, but I was told that it was not something that interested CBS News. Then I asked for a forensic review of the laptop, and we found that there were more than half a dozen emails that were likely used by Joe Biden. I thought that was a story. But the answer that came back was, well, we need to know what the content is of the emails. But that was going to be a years-long process. So there was no way. So there were a lot of reasons I was told not to do it, not to pursue it. I spent a lot of my time at CBS following the Hunter Biden story. And one of the things that really struck me is this kind of disconnect. I didn't understand how a senior executive like George Cheeks could tell me that this was a high priority for the network and for his boss. And yet the executives at CBS News, show producers, anchors could refuse that. I came to the conclusion that they must have felt that they were more powerful than George Cheeks, which was astonishing to me. I'd never worked at a place where a directive from the top would be so defied.
Okay, this is infuriating because she's saying this about 2022, when in 2020, the New York Post with Miranda Devine broke the story ahead of the 2020 elections about the Hunter Biden laptop story, and they completely ignored it.
Well, they said it was Russian misinformation.
Exactly. That 51 intel agency agents got up there and made this happen. They were all directed by Obama to do this, by the way.
Yeah, they signed an agreement saying that this is Russian interference.
I know. And so she's now 22 years later, like she wants to do her own investigative report. Well, in 2021, Garrett Ziegler, the founder and chairman of Marco Polo, prior to this, by the way, he served as under Navarro as in the Office of Trade and Manufacturing in the White House. And prior to this, in 2021, he spent his first year of Marco Polo writing the report on the Biden laptop. It's a 644-page dossier of the infamous abandoned device. The report is a comprehensive and authoritative rundown describing the 459 violations of state and federal laws and regulations which were present on the hard drive. She could have just gone to Garrett Ziegler's report for collaboration. Well, here to talk about Catherine Herridge now, another 4 years after this 2022 problem. So now we're 6 years post knowing that the Hunter Biden laptop is bad. And she comes out with this, like, I'm the victim of being squashed. Well, I want Garrett Ziegler. You've been sued by Hunter Biden and his shameful attorney. You've fought that lawsuit. And now tell us how you feel about this.
Well, thank you for having me on. Good morning, fellow Illinoisan here. And, there's 3 or 4 angles to this. I don't want to be too bitter at Catherine because no matter the timing, I do believe that she's telling the truth insofar as CBS is doing what they've always done, which is just, in my opinion, be an arm for the Democrats. What the public should understand, though, is that when she made those comments, she was 61 years old, which means that she spent 40 years in the corporate press and was still naive by the fall of 2022, which is incredible. Like you said, the corporate press had already done a full court, pun intended, full court press attack on this story 2 years before the situation occurred. So I don't doubt that she can be a dogged reporter. This isn't, I'm not castigating her ultimate character. I'm simply saying that in this instance, yes, it shows the corruptness of CBS, but that's not surprising. Everybody with half a brain knew that. What is shocking is that she was still naive at 61 to be able to believe that people in the corporate press are not interested in absolute truth for its own sake. I mean, my goodness, that was the reason for our book in the first place. Unless listeners think it's all just about promoting our book. It's really about the underlying stories that she said were not covered because of this CBS inaction. As the audio played back, she was talking about use of the N-word, different alias email addresses used by Joe Biden. Jeannie, as you mentioned, I gained 30 pounds here in my home office in a single year because that's all I did. I barely left my home office. We were running – we on page 584 in our dossier, we go through all of the alias email addresses that Catherine said were stories to that, she came out with these truths in 2022. She said, quote, "After 2 years of scrutiny, the laptop has now produced evidence that President Biden directly benefited from his son's business deals." Jeannie, that's news to me. As somebody who read all 128,000 emails, and we're the only place in the world where you can go read them all to this day at BidenLaptopEmails.com, there are at least 7 violations of federal law. We're not unreasonable. We don't say Joe broke the law 200 times based on the email, but we can definitively state that 7 times there was improper sharing of private information for public gain. There is tax evasion. These are from the direct, because why? Hunter's business partner was Joe's financial advisor, Eric Schwerin. So how can she say that? It's one thing to say, hey, they're not letting me tell stories that I want to tell. That is not surprising to anybody. Anybody who's not naive knows that CBS does that. But what she didn't put in this post-mortem in 2026 is that her very quotes from the skit that she was allowed to do were not true. There was evidence that Joe Biden directly benefited from his son's business deals. And my biggest grievance, and sorry for the monologue, by the way, this is
keep going.
You probably knew you were going to. Well, you knew you were going to strike a nerve because, I have. If Catherine today would come clean, and she's a very sophisticated woman. I'm not accusing her of being stupid. I accused her of being naive at 61 because she still believed that the CBS was going to be honest. But if she were to come forward today, and she said she followed the story closely, in the audio you played, she told the listeners that she followed the story closely. You can't follow this story closely without looking at our book. We're the only people who've gotten sued over this mess. Now, Catherine Harris, she hasn't been sued. All these folks haven't been sued. The reason why we were sued is because we literally took screenshots from the laptop. That's why they were so mad, because we didn't make people take our own word for it. We said, here's our take on the problem, but just in case you don't believe us, here's the actual email, here's the actual photo, and they lost their mind because they never, they never really expected somebody to do that before, because there is a litigation risk, because the device is so gross. I mean, you have the president's son engaging and cavorting with let's call them women of the night and drugs. So the story's nuts. But set all that aside, the biggest problem with her statement now is that to this day, Jeannie, she has not released the analysis. You know that she said that she commissioned forensic experts in her statement. I support that 1,000%. You know what I did? I CC'd the forensic expert when I wrote her that note. And to this day, in 2026, and that person's probably under no NDA at this point in time. Maybe they had it for a year or whatever. But Mark Lanterman from Computer Forensic Services in downtown Minneapolis has still not released the report. As a certified nerd, Jeannie, the first thing I was asking for is let me show us work. I want to see this. If CBS is going to pay thousands of dollars for this analysis, and Catherine Herridge is going to base her solid reporting on this forensic analysis, I don't care who does it. In fact, if somebody would have written our book and it wasn't my foundation, all to the better. I just wanted it out there. So the fact that they won't release that Mark Lanterman who was in this 10-minute televised CBS This Morning skit, this segment, the fact that he hasn't released the thing is the most infuriating aspect of this to me. And I've continually emailed them, partly because I'm an ogre and I don't care about how it looks, but I've pestered them for over 3 years now. Please release the analysis so that I can put it as a footnote in our report, because that's the first thing we did with the analysis that the Daily Mail did from the from the Joe Merriman agency in L.A., the ones that work with the L.A. field office of the FBI. They did an analysis of Hunter's laptop and said, yeah, this is all legitimate. So, of course, me being a reporter, the first thing I did was on page 5 of our report, footnote that to say, hey, it's not just Garrett Ziegler. It's Joe Merriman, who literally founded the forensics office at the FBI. So it's all very frustrating. That's why I said there's 3 or 4 different aspects to it. I am happy that she's coming forward. It is absolutely too late. And you know what true courage would have required? True courage would have required her coming forward in 2022.
Yes.
Remember, she didn't start talking about this till after she proactively got fired by CBS. So it's like that quote from Helen Keller, that the timid are as exposed as the bold, because your timidity in the long run doesn't actually help you. She thought she was being, she was tight-lipped about this, and then they ended up firing her anyway.
Right.
So
And then they didn't let her take the information with her when she left. I mean, she couldn't keep it. CBS kept
She had
all
to
of
get
her
she had to get her guild involved.
Yeah. So you have 120,
disgusting. That's
120,000 emails, 10,000 photos, and transcripts of a diary by Hunter Biden's sister, Ashley. What do you think is the most damning piece of evidence from Hunter Biden's laptop?
The involvement with the Chinese, being a conservative and and setting aside everything that Congress has said. There is, because they said that they included the associates in their calculation of the funds that were transferred, and I'm going to be more conservative, and I'm going to separate that from just the Bidens. So if you've taken all their business partners, you can get to a figure of around 20 million. But being very conservative and just counting Joe's blood, there's $6.8 million that the Chinese paid to the family for 0 discernible services. If Hunter were on the line right now, you would say this is not a sophisticated human being. He's not that special. There is no scenario in which he's legitimately paid $6.8 million for his expertise. This is a joke. This is laughable. They were clear FARA violations, things that got that got Manafort a big mugshot and time in the pen for. This was a money laundering operation that was used to extract influence from Joe, and the reason why the Chinese are so harmful, and this is how I'm answering your question with regard to the worst thing, is that they are our sworn enemy. They are sophisticated communists, and that never concerned the Bidens. In the 128,000 emails, I've never read any trepidation on Hunter's part. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this. Maybe these people follow Mao and like Mao Zedong. Maybe they don't have the same values as us. That was never part of the conversation. Now his defense is going to be that he was in complete addiction to crack cocaine, and he needed the money for the drugs and the women. And that would be about 5% of the explanation. Yes, he was addicted, but that's also been a total crutch for Hunter. He's used that as a prophylactic against any criticism of his family that, hey, I'm just an addict, and he treats it like a disease. That's part of it. That's another shtick on his part, is that you can't hold me accountable for anything I did because I was taking crack cocaine.
Okay, Garrett, before we let you go, give us a little bit, the listeners, a little bit of an update. You were sued by Hunter Biden. You won that lawsuit. I believe you're still back in court trying to get your legal fees paid, which amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes, we were sued by Hunter in federal court. That was dismissed at the district court level with prejudice, but we're still in the Ninth Circuit Federal Court of Appeals trying to get at least $165,000 reimbursed. And then his sugar brother, Kevin Morris, the guy who paid him $7 million to pay his back taxes and living expenses, he sued me in state court in California for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Hilarious. And he dismissed that. But we're also appealing that decision. So, and we're asking, again, we're not litigious people. We don't want anything on top. We're just asking for bare minimum reimbursement. We're not asking for damages, anything, of $365,000 because we had to hire LA attorneys. And we didn't want to get held in contempt or anything, because these judges are vicious and they hate Christians and they're terrible people out there. So we're asking for around $500,000 in reimbursement. We're the only people still in litigation with these monsters. And, Hunter's attorney, Abby Lowell, is still representing Don Lemon. These same actors are a burr in the side of Trump. So
careful,
I hope
that's
that
Amy's
was a
friend,
thorough
Don
overview
Lemon.
of the.
Yeah, real quick. And then you said that you have
Yeah.
120,000 emails, photos. Where can people go and see those and read for themselves?
Yes.
Those emails?
So we just posted on Twitter yesterday. We're still getting about 25,000 unique views a month on this site. It's BidenLaptopEmails.com. Very easy to remember. BidenLaptopEmails.com. You can view all 128,000 emails for free. Genitalia and Social Security numbers are redacted.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And how can people help you, Garrett, with everything that's going on before we leave? Quick.
Thank you. If you go to that site, if you go to the email site, go to the link at the bottom which says Marco Polo, click the link, and that has all of our information, our rundown, our litigation posture and strategy, and then all the other projects that we've done.
All right, Garrett Ziegler, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck in your fight against Hunter Biden. We wish you all the best. And
Thank you
join
very
us
much.
on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
40,000 people. That's enough to pack Wrigley Field. I'm talking about 40,000 people who realized hip and knee surgery wasn't their only option. There has to be another way. Guess what? There is. They found it at QC Kinetics, an alternative to surgery. I know this because I've met these patients. They are moving better and hurting less thanks to QC Kinetics' advanced regenerative treatments. Surgery isn't always the answer. Do your research and talk with my friends at QC Kinetics. They offer natural treatments backed by real science. They will activate your body's natural healing power. Safe, natural, non-surgical. Osteoarthritis only gets worse, so don't wait. Get started this month. 40,000 people can't be wrong. Before you choose surgery, talk with QC Kinetics and tell them Dan Prof sent you. That's me. Call today, 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
Mike Lindell and the MyPillow employees want to thank you for your great support this past year. They want to make 2026 the best year ever. So to thank you, they are giving you free shipping on your entire order and wholesale pricing. So they are bringing back the mega sale. For example, the classic MyPillows, regularly $49.98, now only $14.98. Turn any mattress into the best mattress ever with the Made in the USA MyPillow My Mattress Topper and save up to $100. Get a set of MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets for as low as $29.98 or the 6-pack towel set for only $34.98. To get the best specials ever, go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. These offers won't last long, so call 800-489-0201 or go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY. Order now and your entire order ships absolutely free.
AM 560, The Answer.
It changes by the minute. New information about the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, that person of interest. He has been released and he has spoken. We'll start there with private investigator Paul Hubel. But now let's head into the newsroom.
Good morning. It is 29 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Indiana is heating up their bid to move the Chicago Bears to a stadium in Portage, Indiana. Portage Mayor Austin Bonta says the city is ready and willing to give the Bears 300 acres of land for free and provide a financial deal through a partner, which would provide financing for the stadium at no cost to taxpayers while allowing the Bears to lease the stadium for free. It's been 3 years since the team purchased the old Arlington Heights racetrack for the proposed stadium Stadium, yet the city has yet to finalize a deal to keep the Bears here in Chicago. Attorneys for the woman shot by ICE agents last October say they're planning on filing a civil lawsuit on her behalf. That news comes following the release of body cam footage which shows what Miramar Martinez's attorneys have said from the beginning, that ICE agents in the video are shown backing into a vehicle after noting that they were boxed in. Agents then exited the car and began firing shots, shooting Martinez. This report is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Think full mouth dental implants are too expensive? Think again, not at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. With medical insurance, you can save thousands and receive your finally affordable dream smile. Check if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
On Thursday, February 26th, at Benedictine University in Lisle, AM 560 is hosting a Republican debate. Come hear the candidates for governor and U.S. Senate make their cases for why they should win your vote in the primary election. Be a part of the process to defeat J.B. Pritzker and replace Dick Durbin. Tickets are free, but registration is required. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/debate. That's 560theanswer.com/debate.
Did you ever think that improving your home could be easy, fun, and affordable? Well, it can be with just one quick visit to this weekend's huge free admission home show in Oak Brook. This year's show is better than ever, saving you time and money on thousands of the latest home improvement products and services. From interiors to exteriors, from decor to outdoor, you'll find it all at the free home show this weekend in Oak Brook at the Drury Lane Event Center. For details, visit oakbrookhomeshow.com today. That's oakbrookhomeshow.com.
Well, the experts did their best with this season's flu vaccine, but the virus mutated and the vaccine could not keep up. But here is the truth. The most powerful defense against viruses isn't something man-made. It is the God-given immune system that you were born with. And the best immune system booster that I, Scott Jennings, know of is Virago. Virago. It is a liquid immune enhancement supplement featuring 23 potent nutraceuticals working synergistically to enhance your immune system against assaults. Trust the design that God gave you and strengthen your body's immune system with Virago, the ultimate immune enhancement cocktail. Order it online today. Visit myvirago.com. That's myvirago.com. Use coupon code Jennings to save 30%. Myvirago.com. Coupon code Jennings saves you 30%.
To commemorate President's Day, Hassellus Mattress is offering Washington Monument-sized savings on select Beautyrest, plus a $100 instant cash discount, a $100 MasterCard's cash card, a free adjustable base, free delivery and setup, and 24-month free financing with approved credit. I won't beat around the bush. You can't afford to miss out. Enjoy presidential savings on select Beautyrest through February 22nd at Hassellus Mattress. Hassellus.com.
Eggland's Best, the only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hackberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jammed on the Stevenson inbound just before Damon Avenue. There is a collision. Delays go all the way back to Harlem Avenue, so 53 minutes from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 24. 21 in on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. Outbound is 12. You're slow on the Bishop Ford inbound between Stony Island Feeder and the Dan Ryan, but stop and go delays on the northbound side of Lakeshore Drive between Bryn Mawr Avenue and Hollywood Avenue. 17 minutes both ways on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 in, 16 out on the Kennedy from Montrose to the Burn Interchange. Stop and go northbound on the Tri-State between 47th Street and the Eisenhower, and 34 minutes in on the Eisenhower from Wolf to the Old Post Office. Outbound is 21. This report is sponsored by Mattress Firm. Score major deals on top brands at Mattress Firm's President's Day sale. Find your dream mattress today. Their sleep experts are highly trained to find the right one to fit your unique needs. They make sleep easy. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 41. Expect increasing cloudiness tonight with a low of 27. Tomorrow will be cloudy most of the time, reaching a high of 41. On Friday, anticipate periods of clouds and sunshine with a high of 51. Saturday will bring plenty of sunshine with a high of 53. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Thought there was a strong lead in the case. Good morning, Amy Jacobson here, Jeannie Ives. We are in for Dan Proft on Chicago's Morning Answer, and he will be back tomorrow, so don't you get your panties in a bunch. He'll be back here. But earlier this morning, we learned that the person of interest that they had taken into custody for questioning has been released. And at first, ABC 15 from Phoenix was there when he was released. He's a delivery driver, lives in Rio Rico, which is about an hour south of Tucson. And at first, he didn't want to talk to the reporter, and then he opened up.
Anything that you guys need to tell us or want to tell us about tonight? We're trying to figure out what's going on.
Well, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Be good. Have a good night.
Okay, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I was arrested for kidnapping, but I didn't do it.
And so how did this all start? How did they stop you here? You were driving here?
Yeah,
or?
my wife was driving.
Your wife was driving?
Because they were following me. And once I saw they were following me, I pulled over. They didn't even have to put a traffic stop or anything. I got off the car, and they arrested me as soon as I got out the car. They didn't even tell me what was going on until the detectives got here, like 2 hours before I got arrested. And then the detectives got here. It was the FBI agent in Santa Cruz County. And they told me I was being detained for kidnapping. And I asked them, like, well, kidnapping of who? And they told me this lady, I don't know her name. And
Nancy Guthrie?
Yeah, that's her. And I told them I work in Tucson for GLS. I might have delivered a package to your house, but I never kidnapped anybody. And they hold me from like 4 to right now.
Had you heard of Nancy Guthrie before tonight?
Never until today.
Never until today.
Yeah.
They have put out, the Pima County Sheriff's Department put out that they had detained a person of interest, and I guess that's you?
I guess so.
How do you feel about that? People are watching this all over. I mean,
I'm not happy, Like, I'm glad they're doing their job, right? But they're chasing the wrong person, and they should be chasing other leads. You know what I mean?
With more on this, let's welcome back to the program Paul Hubel, licensed private detective, former Chicago policeman, investigative journalist, and proud member of SAG-AFTRA, believe it or not. But he's been a private detective since 1981, and he's an Army veteran. So welcome, Paul. Good morning.
Good morning, Amy. How are you today?
Good. So we woke up to this news that they got the wrong guy. Did you see this coming?
I think that they would stop anyone that they even thought was remotely connected to this. They obviously made a mistake, but thankfully they were able to figure things out pretty quickly and let this guy go. But I'm sure they did a lot of searching of his property and whatnot, and put him through a little hell, that's for sure.
Well, let's talk about these new images of the masked armed man at Nancy Guthrie's door. I mean, he's very discernible. He's got a pot belly. He seems tall, about 5'10", 5'11". He's got a backpack that's full. He's got a mustache you can see underneath that ski mask, and very distinctive shoes and gloves. And somebody has to know who that person is.
Well, I think the more that those images are out there, the more likely somebody's going to remember something. The other thing that I noticed was on his backpack, he had some zipper pulls that were aftermarket and unusual. I mean, I looked at that material pretty close, and I also had artificial intelligence image these things so I could see things a little better. So I think there's some pretty distinctive things, but you can't tell a specific brand. And AI is pretty good at that. It'll tell you what brand jacket someone's wearing or whatnot. But in this case, apparently the AI couldn't quite discern anything more than styles. But it's really interesting. I've used a lot of AI looking at this thing. But the biggest thing we have in our corner is this incredible data. It used to be that crimes were solved by witnesses, eyewitnesses, and ear witnesses. And, of course, sometimes they lie, sometimes they're mistaken, but the data is usually correct. And we're talking about DNA, we're talking about For example, the car you drive, a lot of people don't realize that your car has a black box if you have a more modern car, and it tells the people who are looking at it, primarily it's for liability for the automakers, so that they can show that the accident isn't their fault, but it'll show, example, when you used your key fobs to get in and out, the date and time, directions. It's more than just uncovering a crash. And there's so much data in there. And also, when you buy a car, a lot of times the lenders, without your knowledge even, install GPS devices so that they can keep track of their car if all of a sudden you're not making payments. So, that's pretty interesting from that. But then you have your cell phone data, you have your license plate readers and surveillance cameras, and they all can connect together to tell a story. And I believe that data is going to ultimately solve this case. And that's assuming that they don't get too careless. And I think there was some evidence collection things in the beginning. Oh, and there's one more thing that I think is important. When we bleed, when we are alive, our blood goes through our circulation system. The heart pumps the blood out. But when you're dead, there is no circulation. So what you have is blood draining from a corpse. And so, for example, that blood on the doorstep, they already know the answer if she was alive or dead when that blood was examined. And it was examined, and everybody wants to go through the belief or go to the belief that this woman is still alive, but she may not be, and it very well may be that the law enforcement people know the truth. And then, of course, the other thing that is really nobody's talked about, which amazes me, is in that area, and of course you know that area, Amy, there are 300 abandoned mines within 20 miles, and some of these mines go down more than 1,000 feet. They're incredibly dangerous, and you could try to send cameras down there and everything, but it for the most part, bodies going down those mines stay there. And it is a popular place for killers to dump bodies because they know that if a body is not recovered, the likelihood of them getting convicted of murder is reduced substantially.
But Paul, when you see this video, this doesn't look like a sophisticated criminal. He looks like a dodo bird, like I'm gonna try and grab some weeds to try and cover up the Nest camera. And the Nest camera, I mean, thank God the FBI got involved, because the Pima County Police, they didn't have the tools to get to the corporate Google, which owns Nest, to dig up that video. I mean, if you're not, my mom now is going to get a subscription for a Ring camera, so if something happens to her, I mean, any 80-year-old that lives alone should be worried or just cautious. But 10 days to dig that up seems like a long time.
Well, I have to tell you, I deal with these companies all the time. I'm doing criminal defense investigation, and a lot of this data is actually creates solid alibis for innocent people. And I have to make a request. I do it with a subpoena, and I'm waiting sometimes a month for this stuff on very serious cases. And it's like, maybe it's a lot of work for these companies. But, we need the data and we need to get it quick. And I think they're just as slow. They don't work on weekends. They don't work at night. Nobody pays them, criminal subpoenas and search warrants. They don't get paid to produce that stuff. So they're not really that motivated to get the stuff out quickly.
Well, Paul, Paul, this is Jeannie Ives here, and so what do you think is the next set of data that is going to come out that is going to help in this case? I mean, let's face it, they were able to essentially, go through all sorts of files for the J6ers, 1,200 people, go after them, find that cell phone location data, and they did that pretty quickly and brought them in. And it seems like, this is one particular area, a very specific incident. So is it going to be cell phone data that is the next thing that catches the next potential,
break in the case,
break or whatever? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, what they're doing is every person, every cell phone that went in that area, even remotely close, they're going to track it down, and probably have tracked it down, question people. The same thing with the license plate reader. So you have a cell phone, and that directly goes to the license plate reader in terms of comparing the data onto anything else, include the black box in the vehicle, and of course the things that people say. If people lie, they're going to be uncovered immediately. And the other thing is that Amy raised the issue of this guy looks like a bumbling fool, and that's truly what he looks like. I'm trying to figure out this goofy holster that he's got.
Yeah, I always heard that's how they call it Mexican carry, but I mean,
no,
he
Mexican
looks like he doesn't even know what he's doing.
He doesn't know what he's doing, and that holster is just pure garbage, and I'm trying to find where it came from, or if it even is a holster or some other item. I mean, I'm very familiar with the holster companies, of course, the better ones, more intimately. But I really don't understand. We know he's right-handed. We know some things about him, and unfortunately, these pictures were captured with the aid of infrared, and so that's why they kind of look goofy, and that's why I took them through AI to make them look a little more normal, and it did an amazing job of that, and but it's just somebody's going to recognize that backpack, somebody's going to figure out where those zipper pulls came from, and then start zeroing in. There's so many different things that can be used in an investigation, and it's just it takes, number one, a lot of work. I mean, you can't, you really have to work hard, but when you find things, then things start coming together, and then that's when the case will be solved.
Well, let's talk about this, though, because is this a kidnapping? I mean, according to TMZ, Harvey Levin went on late last night and said that there's been some activity in that Bitcoin account that was tied to the ransom. Because he got, then these aren't letters, they got emails. So KOLD got 2 emails, K got 9. You have to be a total inside baseball Tucsonan to understand like these call letters and these stations, and so I think it's somebody local, but do you think this is an actual kidnapping or a robbery?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, it's a kidnapping, but is it a kidnapping for ransom? And I say those are incredibly rare circumstances. I mean, you can count the kidnappings for ransom in the United States on your fingers over the decades. So I don't believe for a second that this is a kidnapping for ransom. I think it's a diversion that has been put up either by the kidnapper killers or by opportunists that are just trying to collect money. They got a little inside information and they put it out there, and they put out their demands, and everybody's imagination is like the Lindbergh kidnapping from 100 years ago. No, that's not what this is, in my opinion. This is somebody's anger, somebody's greed, where they want to take what they can get at the time, and then, of course, disposing of the remains of Nancy permanently would aid in their not being convicted of a crime. So there's so many different aspects to this, but they all have to be looked at, and it is the more professional investigators that are working on it, but we got a lot of people who think they're investigators that are working for police agencies that just didn't pay attention in the academy.
Well, we do know that they have taken DNA samples from people who worked in the house, electricians or roofers, pool person. So that's one aspect of the case. But also, they keep going back to Annie Guthrie's house. Annie Guthrie is Savannah's older sister. Nancy was at her house that night having dinner, playing board games. Somebody, it was either Annie or Tommaso, her husband since 2007. He's also a AP biology teacher at Basis High School. Drove her home, but not one reporter asked in that press conference, at how long, because they dropped her off at 9:48 p.m. The garage door closed at 9:50. When did they get from Nancy's house back to their home? Nobody asked that in the press conference, and I kept wanting to be in that room to say, hey, wait, why can't you say it was Annie or Tommaso who dropped her off, who's the last person to see her alive, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, and when did they get back to the house? So if they took the car into custody, they questioned neighbors yesterday, but will that car determine when they got back to the house?
I think it depends what make and year it is, but I'm going to say they probably don't have a 20-year-old car. I'm sure they have something very modern. So whatever they have is going to tell a story about this. Now, the other thing is that this is like any other murder. The person knows his killer. The person there's a dispute. There's something. We only hurt the ones we love. Remember that song title? Well, that's very true, because nobody can piss you off like those people who are close to you. And that's why so many wives and husbands kill each other, and girlfriends, boyfriends, brothers and sisters.
I understand, but what would be the motive to not, to kill an 84-year-old grandmother?
Anger, greed. She's got probably a lot of power over money, and that could have been a dispute between Tommaso and his, of course, the daughter, and it could have been. And these things do happen, and they happen a lot. That's not a unusual thing. It's just the way it is. That's why we always start within the circle of people closest to the victim, and then work our way out when we're investigating.
Okay. All right, Paul Hubel, we're going to have to leave it there for today, but we'll keep you on a short string in case anything changes in this case, because for some reason, the nation, whether you're a conservative, you're a left-winger, you're even a communist, everybody loves it, not loves, but is captivated by this story. When was the last time you saw something like this, Paul?
I don't remember something quite this huge, and of course I did a lot of TV news on some of the biggest stories, and this is way out there. It's unusual, but the other thing is nobody wants to see an 84-year-old woman tortured or hurt in any way, especially your own mother, especially somebody else's mother, and this family has my prayers that the right thing happens.
Ditto. Thank you so much, Paul. We so appreciate you. And he joined us on AM 560, The Answer.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
If you or someone you love are getting high quotes for dental implants, visit almostfreeteeth.com today. With a medical PPO insurance plan, it's possible to save 90% off on average to be able to smile again. Check if you qualify now at almostfreeteeth.com.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Bob Chivato, owner of Go Exceed and a customer of Signature Bank. By leveraging AI and machine learning, we provide data management solutions for corporations to save time and money managing their cellular devices. While we rely on machines to help us run our business, we believe personal relationships are essential. This is why we chose Signature Bank. Having a banking partner who understands our background, our business, and our priorities is fundamental to our success. Any bank can provide basic services, But having a bank that you could trust, one that looks out for you and treats your business like its own, that's irreplaceable.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Access One, we don't take chances with your technology, and we put $10,000 behind our assessment to prove it. Our mission is to strengthen your IT security and resilience, backed by over 30 years of experience, serving organizations across the Midwest. And here's the deal. If we can't find even one measurable way to improve your technology or security posture based on NIST or CIS security frameworks, we'll write you a check for $10,000. This free confidential risk assessment is available for businesses with 25 to 500 employees and is designed to validate your IT performance against recognized security regulations. No gimmicks, just a confident promise from a partner who knows technology. Ready to take the challenge? Visit accessoneInc.com/challenge or call 800-654-1555. Certain conditions apply. See details online.
Hello?
Sir, this is Officer Peterson. There's been a string of break-ins in the area, and your office, it was hit.
Hit? What do you mean? We were robbed?
Looks like the back door lock was easily pried open, and they moved through the building like they knew exactly what to take. We see wires everywhere. No computers.
What? No computers? I just upgraded everything.
Looks like they moved fast. We only found out because a neighboring business had their alarm go off. Do you have any security cameras?
No, nothing.
Don't wait until it's too late. Goldilocks protects Chicagoland businesses with custom security solutions. From reinforced commercial doors with keyless entry to cameras and 24/7 monitoring that alerts authorities immediately. Schedule a free on-site assessment at GoldilocksInc.com. Again, that's GoldilocksInc.com. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicago's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174. 800-522-2174.
Penny Mustard raised the bar with the Klein Sofa Sleeper.
We didn't raise the bar. We removed it entirely.
Oh, right. That awful metal bar that digs into your back.
The Klein Sofa Sleeper has a solid platform base with no springs or painful metal bars.
In other words, the Klein is the best, bar none.
The Klein Sofa Sleeper, starting at just $141 a month with no interest until February of 2029 through February 16th at Penny Mustard.
6 Chicagoland showrooms.
PennyMustard.com.
Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. AM 560. The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, Minnesota politics keeps getting stranger. We'll explain. But first, good news. How President Trump is going to make vehicles cheaper. What do we know about that?
Well,
Who's
guess what?
going to be joining us?
CO2 is not a pollutant. Steve Malloy joins us to discuss. He's the junkscience.com guy.
And later, you're not going to want to miss this. 8:38, Congressman Brandon Gill will be joining us. He's going to be talking about a 25-year pause on immigration for Somalians. But more importantly, the breaking news this morning, the El Paso airport closed down for 10 days for safety reasons. We'll get into that with him because that is a big news story. Today, plenty of sunshine, a high near 40 degrees. It is now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
More hiring, less unemployment. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. We just got that update to the economy with numbers better than expected.
Job growth picked up in January. The Labor Department says 130,000 new jobs were created, double most estimates. And the unemployment rate declined to 4.3%. The report was delayed by this year's partial government shutdown.
That's Fox's Jenny Casola. There's also been a big revision in the amount of jobs created for parts of 2024 and last year, revised down by hundreds of thousands of jobs. It's day 11 of the search for Nancy Guthrie, and a man's been questioned, telling Fox right after.
What were they asking you about?
Where my whereabouts.
Okay.
Where was I and all that.
This man, Carlos, told our Matt Finn that he was picked up at a traffic stop in Rio Rico. They questioned him. They searched his home. They took his cell phone before ultimately being released. All of this came hours after the FBI released chilling images of a person at Nancy Guthrie's front door, covered head to toe with a ski mask, jacket, gloves, and a backpack.
That's Fox's Alicia Cunha outside the Guthrie home in Tucson, where the 84-year-old was kidnapped. We just got this update a few minutes ago. The airspace over El Paso, Texas, has been reopened. Last night, the FAA announced that they were going to cancel all flights to and from El Paso for 10 days, citing a security concern. Now, later this morning, Israel's prime minister goes to the White House for talks with President Trump, who has threatened to attack Iran again like last year if Iran doesn't scale back its nuclear program. Meanwhile, in Iran,
President Masoud Pezeshkian apologized to all those affected by the nationwide demonstrations against the regime and the bloody crackdown that ended it. But he did so without directly acknowledging that his own security forces had a hand in the bloodshed.
That's Jonathan Savage. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It is 29 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560. The Answer. I'm Stacey Kane in the QC Kinetics newsroom. A freight train derailment is affecting Metro passengers this morning. Officials say that derailment happened around 4:30 near the 108th Street crossing in Oak Lawn. Police say the road is closed between 107th and Pleasant Boulevard. Several trains are affected. It's not known if there were any injuries. State lawmakers have introduced legislation backed by the Chicago Teachers Union to immediately increase evidence-based funding and additional public school services. Jim Talamonte has the story.
State Senator Graciela Guzman is a former CTU organizer. At a press conference in Chicago on Monday, Guzman said schools are required to provide special education services, transportation, and other categoricals.
These are not optional. They are legal and moral requirements. And if we require our schools to provide them, the state has an obligation to fund them.
State Rep Will Davis introduced House Bill 5409 to fully fund both EBF and mandated categoricals.
We've talked about as much as $550 million. The reality is that it's probably in upwards of $1 billion that's needed to get us to fully funding schools.
A Chicago man has been sentenced to 28 years in prison for sex trafficking. 33-year-old Dennis Williams was found guilty of 7 counts of kidnapping and sex trafficking last year. Prosecutors say that Williams used drug and violence to force his young victims to engage in the operation that he ran out of his home in Lansing. And Illinois State Police say they arrested a Chicago man for an alleged road rage shooting on Interstate 55. According to an ISP statement, 22-year-old Daniel Zaragoza fired at a vehicle on I-55 near Damien Avenue in Chicago last Friday. The victim was hospitalized with non-life-threatening injuries. Zaragoza was charged with felony aggravated battery with a firearm. This report is a service of Salem Surround, a local digital marketing agency providing high-performing digital solutions to surround your target audience. Go to surroundchicago.com today. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes, but time now for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Airline stocks are little changed this morning. United Airlines, Delta, American, and Southwest are among the carriers that operate flights from the airport in El Paso, Texas. The FAA says it's halting all flights to and from El Paso for 10 days for special security reasons without elaborating. Hilton Worldwide's profit declined in the recent quarter, though demand for its rooms softened. CEO Christopher Nassetta says Hilton is increasingly optimistic about the year ahead. Humana, parent company of Medicare Advantage plans, continued to lose money in the recent quarter, though it was holding up better than expected. Kraft Heinz says it will pause work towards separating into two companies and will focus on making the company more profitable. Kraft Heinz is investing $600 million in marketing, sales, and research and development. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Chinico Solda, invested in you.
Larry Elder is always good with the stats.
You know that Texas has accounted for 25% of all the ICE arrests. 25%. That's thousands and thousands of deportations. No riots, no mob violence, no churches stormed. Minneapolis represents less than 1% of all the ICE arrests. Yet there are protests in the streets.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you 65 or older and dealing with chronic knee or shoulder pain? You're not alone. At the Joint Relief Institute, we've helped thousands find real relief without surgery. Our non-surgical, FDA-approved treatment uses hyaluronic gel that acts like a cushion between the bones in your knee. As we age, the cushion naturally wears down, causing painful grinding and popping. But our gel restores that cushion, allowing your knee to move smoothly again. Ready to stop the pain and get back to doing what you love? Call the Joint Relief Institute at 708-315-6800. Again, that's 708-315-6800.
Move better, live better with JRI.
Move better and live better with JRI. Contact the Joint Relief Institute today and get back to doing what you love. Call 708-315-6800 or visit jointreliefinstitute.com. Locations in Glenview, Oakbrook, and Orland Park. Call 708-315-6800. Medicare and most private insurance plans accepted. Reclaim your mobility with the Joint Relief Institute.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-884-1012 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-884-1012. That's 800-884-1012. What do you have to lose? Call 800-884-1012. Again, 800-884-1012.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Jam-packed on the Tri-State northbound between Crawford Avenue and Cicero Avenue, all because of a collision. 3 right lanes are blocked. You've got 25 minutes inbound, 27 out on the Edens from Lake Cook to Montrose. The Kennedy inbound is 24 minutes from Montrose to the Burn Interchange. Not too bad on the outbound side, 15 minutes. Stop and go on the express lanes between the Edens and Chicago Avenue. The Eisenhower is 45 minutes inbound from Wolf to the Post Office, 28 minutes out, 57 minutes inbound on the Stevenson from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore, 33 minutes on the outbound side. Stop and go inbound on the Bishop Ford heading towards the Dan Ryan, 31 in, 11 out on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn Interchange. This report is a service of the AM 560 Advantage. Membership has its privileges, including early access to event tickets, exclusive contest opportunities, and special member-only content. Join today at 560theanswer.com/join. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 41. Tonight, expect increasing cloudiness with a low of 27. Tomorrow will be cloudy most of the time, reaching a high of 41. On Friday, anticipate periods of clouds and sunshine with a high of 51. Saturday is expected to have plenty of sunshine with a high of 53. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Welcome
And
back
Rob.
to Chicago's Morning Answer with Jeannie Ives, Amy Jacobson. We're filling in for Dan today. He will be back tomorrow, and I'm so glad we're here. And also to promote our show, The Real Story, which is from 11 to noon, Monday through Friday, right here on these very airwaves. So thank you so much. We've had quite the busy day, quite an exciting array of guests, that's for sure. And we've had a lot of information. We will bring you the latest information later about the closure of the El Paso airport for 10 days, which is, they're very tight-lipped. Everyone is on why they're doing it. They're just saying that it's a security measure. So there's some intel of some threat.
Something going on.
Because that's a pretty big airport. It's right there on the border. And there's not like an airport nearby that you can divert to. You know, if Chicago here was shut down, you can go to Milwaukee or Cedar Rapids, Iowa, or St. Louis. But El Paso, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Well, we are having Brandon Gill on in the next half hour, and he is a congressman from Texas. I reached out to his organization, his people, and they said, look, we're not going to talk about it because we really don't know anything else either. So certainly this is a tight-lipped situation, and they are not, and probably he knows something. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't. But they're not revealing what's going on in El Paso. But
Wow.
so.
All right. Well, thank you for telling. Then that's an honest answer.
That's an honest answer.
And that's what we
they're
appreciate.
Like, which is fine because we have a whole lot more to talk about with Brandon Gill and looking forward to that. But in the meantime, you know, this is actually really important breaking news. And that's that Trump is going to repeal the landmark climate finding, which is a huge regulatory rollback. I got this from the Committee to Unleash Prosperity yesterday. They wrote that the 2009 so-called endangerment finding was always a farce, a frontal assault against economic progress, energy usage, and higher living standards. It was a regressive tax hitting poor households the hardest. The ruling was completely unscientific, as there is no evidence that carbon dioxide is a pollutant or a danger to human health the way lead or sulfur make people sick. Virtually all the major climate-related crises on the planet happened centuries before fossil fuels were ever burned. Now, this is a really important thing. I think it's going to lead to lower costs for your vehicles. There's certainly going to be impacts at the state level, and I've got something to share on that as well. But here to give us more context on this is Steve Milloy. He's a recognized leader in the fight against junk science with more than 33 years of experience, and it's credited with popularizing the term junk science. He's the founder and publisher of junkscience.com and an environmental and public health consultant, and he joins us right now. Mr. Milloy, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, good morning, Jeannie and Amy. Thanks for having me.
So what about this landmark ruling that does now say that CO2 is not a pollutant that we should be concerned about? What's going to be the impact, and, you know, how did we get to this point finally?
Well, so President Trump is trying to end the climate hoax. Climate hoax began about 36 years ago. NASA scientist James Hansen famously testified on a very hot day in Washington, D.C., and that launched the climate alarmism. And about halfway through 2009, the Obama EPA issued this rule saying that carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases were a threat to public health and welfare. That's called the endangerment finding. And since that time, EPA has been regulating greenhouse gases. And part of the effect of that was to destroy half the U.S. coal industry. It is also behind all the EV mandates that the Biden administration tried to pass, California tried to pass. So it's had a lot of devastating effects. The car companies have lost tens of billions of dollars over the last few years on EVs, for example. And so President Trump tomorrow is going to announce that he's reversing the Obama EPA's 2009 ruling. And that's a great move. People like me have been pushing for this since the endangerment finding first came out in 2009, because climate alarmism has always been junk science. There's just no evidence that emissions of carbon dioxide are harming the planet, affecting the weather, affecting the climate. The carbon dioxide has been great for agriculture that feeds us. We have 8 billion people on the planet. We need the food. So this is huge, but it's not the end of the story. There's going to be a lot of litigation. There was a Supreme Court decision that helped the Obama administration get started. There has been a Supreme Court decision since that's going to support President Trump's rollback of the endangerment finding. So we're just going to have to see how it plays out.
Well, in Illinois, I got to tell you, this isn't going to be any change for Illinoisans because we've got Governor Pritzker here, who is intent on shutting down all fossil fuels by 2045. All coal's going to go away. Natural gas plants are going to go away. This is a fantasy, by the way. He can't actually produce enough energy if he does go down this route. But we've also had problems with, the idea that they want to do carbon sequestration. These are very expensive projects for nothing. This is actual junk science. And then I got to tell you one more thing. Just coming out is Senate Bill 2981, which would create in Illinois the Climate Change Superfund, financed by payments from entities the state deems responsible for climate change. Illinoisans are in a trick box if we don't get rid of Pritzker because they are doubling down on stuff that obviously everybody knows is a hoax.
Yeah, you have mentioned so many things there. With all the data centers and all the reindustrialization of America that we need, wind and solar just can't do it. They're more expensive. They have they produce no environmental benefits. That they're not changing the weather. The climate is total junk. The Climate Superfund law, of course, carbon dioxide is not harming anything. So why penalize anybody? And all that would do anyway is just make energy cost more, right? This notion of net zero by 2040, 2045, 2050, whenever. Net zero is never happening. Fossil fuels, especially coal and natural gas. Oil and natural gas. Well, coal too. They're essential for our standard of living and survival. If we didn't have fossil fuels, billions of us would die. Before fossil fuels, there were fewer than 1 billion people on the planet. Fossil fuels have produced 8 billion people on the planet living longer, healthier, wealthier, freer lives than ever before. So people like Pritzker is out of their minds.
Well, what about, we have all these data centers popping up. We have one right next to us. How are we going to, where's the energy going to come from to keep that place up and running?
Well, right. And the reason that electricity prices have skyrocketed over the last 10, 15 years is because, the Greens have shut down coal plants, they've shut down gas plants, they've stuck us with wind and solar, which can't supply the electricity need. Now, fortunately, for those 10, 15 years, electricity demand was sort of constant, but now it's skyrocketing because we have all the data centers have huge electricity requirements. We're trying to reindustrialize. That's going to require more energy. And so we're in a squeeze now because we only produce so much energy, not enough. And someone's got to pay the freight. That's going to be consumers.
Well, let's talk about something that's actually harmful to folks, and this is really important for us at the local level. Look, it's been known for years that Chicago is #1 in the nation for the number of lead service lines that they still have in Chicago that they have not replaced. Over 400,000 lead service lines, and they are on they think that they're going to make progress on this because by 2076, 50 years from now, they're going to be replaced. But we know for a fact that it's not junk science, that lead is very harmful to people. And instead of focusing our resources on replacing these lead service lines, they are doubling down on green energy scams in the state. And I just this is Illinois.
Well, I agree with you and disagree with you. I agree with you that, we have real environmental problems out there. And instead of addressing those, we're wasting it on wind and solar. Okay. The lead service lines, lead is dangerous. Kids that historically eat lead paint chips, very bad for you. Obviously, smuggling lead jewelry, very bad. Lead in drinking water, not so much. We all grew up with much higher levels of blood lead than kids do today. Didn't hurt us. It's poison that's a problem, not the sort of low level. In toxicology, it's the dose that makes the poison. But that's
Well, I don't know. I used to eat paint chips for a snack in Mount Prospect growing up. Like when you get hungry, just take something off the windowsill.
Yeah, but that was the problem.
Yeah, but what data do you have to back up that lead in the water is not as toxic as we think?
Because there's not a single study that shows anyone's ever been harmed by having the low levels of lead that are in drinking water.
Okay.
Okay, and the CDC has determined that if you have any lead in your blood, you've been poisoned. Of course, that's not true. I can show you what our lead levels were growing up, much, much higher than today, and we were fine.
Well, this is great. I'm glad that you're here debunking some of this stuff, but at the same time, I think it's a higher priority to replace those than it is to put in wind, solar, and batteries in Illinois.
Yeah, of course, but I mean, we do have real problems.
Yes,
and,
we do.
My whole thing, look, if you want to take environmental action, let's just make sure that the science is right, or that even if you want to do it despite the science, that everyone knows that you're doing it despite the science. That's all I'm about.
Okay, hey, last question before we let you go. You just recently wrote 20 years after an inconvenient truth, Al Gore's alarmist global warming movie has, obviously been debunked completely.
Yeah. So, Al Gore launched, really got climate idiocy going in the mid-2000s with An Inconvenient Truth. I was able to watch the movie in a special Al Gore, a personal presentation in January 2006. Afterwards, I went up and said, "Hey, Al, let's have a debate on this." And at first he was interested, but then his staff, said, "No, we're not going to do that." And of course, Al Gore and all climate alarmists have ducked debate in the last 20 years. And of course, everything they've been pushing has been a hoax. So, Al Gore's movie, a year after it came out, a British judge ruled that it could not be shown in UK schools without a warning label because it had so many errors in it.
Well, he made his living and his livelihood off of it. I mean, the documentary initially grossed $50 million in theaters, and that was his whole. I mean, they could never debunk it because then he'd look like a fraud and maybe have to give some of that money back.
He is a fraud, and he has a net worth of $300 million now from the climate hoax. It's crazy. Yeah, he's a nut job. I mean, he says that global warming is like 600,000 atomic bombs going off in the atmosphere every day. So since he's been saying that, 2.5 billion atomic bombs have gone off in the atmosphere, and we're still here and doing great.
And he scared so many school kids.
Well, no, my sister actually fought this in her school in Vermillion, South Dakota. They were showing.
Of course she did, Jeannie.
Yeah, so of course. Yes. But they were showing this to the middle schooler, Inconvenient Truth. She's like, no, you need to show also this movie. And I forgot the name of the counterpoint movie to Al Gore's, but she's like, you're not going to present this to kids. It's false.
And she was a middle schooler when she did that?
Her kids were in middle school, and she did that. She's like, you're not watching this.
Yeah, so the counter movie was, at the time, Great Global Warming Swindle.
Yes.
And I ultimately made Al Gore debate because I took clips from The Inconvenient Truth, juxtaposed them from clips from the Great Global Warming Swindle. So he debated whether he liked it or not.
Oh, that's great.
Well, we'll leave it right there. Steve Milloy, we're thankful for what you do, debunking all this stuff. JunkScience.com is where you can find out more from him.
Yep, and he joined us on AM 560, The Answer.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Stay tuned for a special message from Angel Dad Joe Abraham about his daughter Katie.
Put yourself in my shoes. I just spent my first Christmas without Katie. My daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant Governor Pritzker protected. Imagine her final breaths, knowing that you would have given your life for hers, but you didn't have the chance. Put your child in Katie's shoes. Think of the unfulfilled dreams, the unrealized joys, and the permanent loss. I'm not a political guy, but when politicians unleash violent criminals, we all need to get involved. We can do better, and we must do better. Ted Dabrowski would have protected Katie, and he'll protect your children the way I wish someone had protected mine.
I'm Ted Dabrowski, and I approve this message.
Don't get stuck with the cold shower this winter. Give CenterGuard Plumbing a call. Get a new 40-gallon water heater installed for just $1,195 for standard installation, or a 50-gallon heater for $1,295 standard installation. A proud new sponsor of AM 560, CenterGuard is offering specials on new water heaters. Old man winter is here. Don't get stuck in the cold, and the same can happen to your water heater. If you're having hot water issues or your water heater's over 8 years old, take advantage of this winter special today. CenterGuard Plumbing is Chicagoland's same-day water heater experts. Call before noon and they can schedule your repair or install the same day on in-stock water heaters. They'll even haul away your old one no charge. You're only a text away from install today. Call 847-5 847-406-8883. Mention AM 560 to receive winter special pricing. That's 847-406-8883. Call or text 847-406-8883 or visit centerguardplumbing.com.
When you can no longer handle your own home, Hearthstone Assisted Living at the Lutheran Home in Arlington Heights is here to help make life easier. Experience upscale living with comprehensive health services. We offer fine dining, engaging activities, available chaplains, weekly worship services, and quality amenities including a bistro, expansive library, and general store. For a limited time, mention WYLL for an additional discount. Call 847-595-5024 or visit LutheranLifeCommunities.org.
On Salem News Channel, principled voices are shaping today's conversation. Scott Jennings brings clarity to the toughest debates. Josh Hammer's blistering commentary puts politics and culture on trial. And Alex Marlowe's insight connects us to what matters most. Watch anytime on Samsung TV Plus, Pluto TV, or find us on your screen at snc.tv. 3 new shows, 1 powerful lineup. Salem News Channel, across America.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-884-1012 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-884-1012. That's 800-884-1012. What do you have to lose? Call 800-884-1012. Again, 800-884-1012.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, so we have some new information about El Paso Airport. The Federal Aviation Administration has now reopened the airspace over El Paso, Texas, after abruptly closing it earlier this morning. Why it matters? Well, the closure would have prevented any flights in and out of the local airport for 10 days. That's a lot, creating massive travel disruption. And also several hours after issuing the restrictions for special security reasons, and I'm using air quotes, the FAA announced that the temporary closure has been lifted. This is what they posted on X. Very interesting. The temporary closure of airspace over El Paso has been lifted. There's no threat to commercial aviation. All flights will resume as normal. Well, that has people going, WT what? An explanation, please. Got a text message in. What triggered the initial shutdown in El Paso? And I don't know. I mean, it's on the border of Ciudad Juarez, which is a huge, hundreds of thousands of people live there. I mean, it's a huge town. And I don't know if it's the Mexican cartel drones. I mean, there's Fort Bliss is right there. They don't share the same runway, but they're pretty close to each other. So have you ever heard of it? I mean, don't you think we deserve a little bit of an
Is your next thing going to be this is connected to the Nancy Guthrie story?
No, I'm not. Stop it. No. But there's, a lot of people are like, we need an explanation.
No, we do need an explanation. Absolutely.
And OSINT Defender wrote that several drones operated by the cartels in Mexico breached American airspace overnight near El Paso with electronic warfare measures being utilized by the U.S. Army at Fort Bliss. That's just one person's opinion. Closure lifted, Amy and Jeannie. Normal operations restored. This is something that escalated quickly, and the public deserves a clear explanation.
Well, I mean, look, Biden let, at least 50,000 known terrorists into the country. Who knows?
That's true. That's a possibility.
Could be anything.
I'm so excited about our next guest, Congressman Brandon Gill. He has some thoughts about Somalia immigrants.
What's most astounding is I asked him, do you know what percentage of Somali immigrants in Minnesota are on welfare even after being in the United States for 10 years? So you could say, okay, they came into the United States, they needed to get on their feet. I don't buy that argument, to be clear, but maybe somebody could say that. Well, 78% of Somali immigrants, again, even after being in the U.S. for 10 years, are on welfare. I mean, that is astounding. In other words, they're not living the American dream. They're not self-sufficient. They're here because you can get free stuff. And that's a problem for the American people because we're the ones who are paying for this. You know, I mentioned some principles of immigration, and one of them that the United States has in the past adhered to is called what's called a public burden doctrine. So in other words, we say that you cannot immigrate into the United States if you cannot become self-sufficient, if you're not self-sufficient. So you can't come in here and just
great.
hop
And then
on
he
the
also,
welfare.
real quickly, because we're going to talk to him, but I wanted to play this before he comes on about Muslims. He does not want Sharia law.
Not at all.
What percentage of U.S. Muslims believe that Sharia law should be implemented in the United States?
So I'm not aware of survey data on that specific question. However,
I can tell you it's 39%. 39% of Muslims in the United States want Sharia law implemented in the next 20 years. Do you know what percentage of Muslims in the United States support the formation of a Muslim political party?
Again, I'm not familiar with survey data on that particular question.
Number is 46%. Do a couple more. Do you know what percentage of Muslims in the United States support making it illegal to show a picture of the cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad?
So as with the other questions, a lot depends on the wording and the sample, and I would want to see those details
50%.
of the methodology here.
That's a lot. Let's do one more. Do you know what
he's
percentage?
Just a brilliant young man. I can't wait to talk to him. He'll be on at 8:38. But now let's head into the newsroom with the latest headlines.
Good morning. It is 28 degrees here in Chicago on AM 560 The Answer. I'm Stace Keene in the QC Kinetics newsroom. Attorneys for the woman shot by ICE agents last October say they're planning on filing a civil lawsuit on her behalf. That news comes following the release of body cam footage, which shows what Miramar Martinez's attorneys have said from the beginning, that ICE agents backed into a vehicle after noting that they were boxed in. Agents then exited the car and began firing shots, shooting Martinez. The Federal Emergency Management Agency has denied the state of Illinois' appeal for a major disaster declaration following severe storms and flooding that affected Boone, Cook, Kane, McHenry, and Will counties last August. FEMA reaffirmed its initial decision that supplemental federal assistance was not warranted. Governor J.B. Pritzker says the agency's decision is politically motivated. And a Chicago Heights woman has been indicted in federal court on charges of preparing more than 25 fraudulent tax returns for clients of her suburban tax preparation business. Prosecutors say 43-year-old Jadine Brown pleaded not guilty to 28 tax-related counts. This report is a service of the AM 560 store. Order t-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Prop University and The Sean Thompson Show when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of the roads is coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
On Thursday, February 26th, at Benedictine University in Lisle, AM 560 is hosting a Republican debate. Come hear the candidates for governor and U.S. Senate make their cases for why they should win your vote in the primary election. Be a part of the process to defeat J.B. Pritzker and replace Dick Durbin. Tickets are free, but registration is required. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/debate. That's 560theanswer.com/debate.
40,000 people. That's enough to pack Wrigley Field. I'm talking about 40,000 people who realized hip and knee surgery wasn't their only option. There has to be another way. Guess what? There is. They found it at QC Kinetics, an alternative to surgery. I know this because I've met these patients. They are moving better and hurting less thanks to QC Kinetics' advanced regenerative treatments. Surgery isn't always the answer. Do your research and talk with my friends at QC Kinetics. They offer natural treatments backed by real science. They will activate your body's natural healing power. Safe, natural, non-surgical. Osteoarthritis only gets worse, so don't wait. Get started this month. 40,000 people can't be wrong. Before you choose surgery, talk with QC Kinetics and tell them Dan Prof sent you. That's me. Call today, 312-827-6261. That's 312-827-6261. Once more, call QC Kinetics, 312-827-6261.
Did you know most remodeling mishaps start before construction even begins? Here's something else you should know. At Forever Remodeling, we do things differently. Every kitchen, bathroom, and basement project starts with smart planning, detailed 3D designs, a clear scope of work, and accurate pricing, all sorted out before you get started. No surprises, no stress, just beautiful results. Done right the first time. Visit foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4, EVER, remodeling.com. And schedule your free in-home consultation today.
Hey, it's Scott Jennings inviting you to join me on the unforgettable Gulf of America cruise happening this November 2026. Imagine it. Turquoise waters, white sand, beaches, incredible food, and insightful conversations about the future of our great country. Mike Gallagher and I will dive into the issues shaping America as we cruise through some of the most stunning destinations while honoring the 250th anniversary of our nation. Text cruise to 94878 or visit scottjenningsshow.com and click the cruise banner to sign up today.
Taking a look at the roads from the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Sue Aller. Stop-and-go delays northbound Lakeshore Drive from Foster Avenue to Hollywood Avenue. Watch out for a collision on the inbound side of I-57 at 107th Street. There's a crash on the Stevenson inbound at Cicero Avenue. 55 minutes from Veterans Memorial to Lakeshore. Outbound is 29. 30 minutes in on the Dan Ryan from 95th to Burnt Interchange. Outbound looks good at 11, but stop-and-go in the express lanes. Inbound between 59th Street and 31st Street. 41 minutes inbound on the Kennedy from Montrose to the Burnt Interchange. Outbound is 14. The express lanes hitting those brakes from the Edens to Ohio Street. 48 minutes on the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office. 25 on the outbound side. This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless. Every now and then you find a deal that actually feels like a win. With Straight Talk Wireless, you get more and pay less. Now that's a good deal. No contracts, no credit checks, no surprises. All on Verizon's 5G network. Find it in the same place you've always found straightforward prices exclusively at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now the latest forecast from the Air Right Heating and Cooling Weather Center.
Today will be partly sunny with a high of 41. Expect increasing cloudiness tonight with a low of 27. Tomorrow will be cloudy most of the time, reaching a high of 41. On Friday, anticipate periods of clouds and sunshine with a high of 51. Saturday will bring plenty of sunshine with a high of 53. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
It's never too late to say thank you. Good morning, Amy Jacobson here, Jeannie Eyes. We are in for Dan Proft on Chicago's Morning Answer. And a big thank you to our next guest, Congressman Brandon Gill, who took on our governor, Pritzker, when he questioned him during a congressional hearing about abolishing ICE.
Do you support abolishing ICE?
No, I believe we need an immigration force in the United States.
You don't.
In fact,
You believe a budget is a moral document. Is that correct?
I do.
You do. You tweeted that. Your administration gave $12,000 to the organized communities against deportations, which just this past month was marching in the streets of Chicago with signs saying abolish ICE. Do you support this?
I do not.
Is this a
support
reflection of
abolishing
your
an
moral
immigration
values?
force.
Is this a reflection of your moral values?
I do not support abolishing an immigration force.
That's good to hear.
Wow. And now, what does Governor Pritzker want to do?
He wants to abolish, investigate ICE. He wants to prosecute ICE. He literally put out in a current podcast saying that he wants to gather evidence now so that in 2029, when there's a quote-unquote change in administration, they can bring back all the evidence to then prosecute ICE agents. That's what he wants to do. Anyway, we can't thank Brandon enough. Congressman Gill represents the 26th Congressional District in the U.S. House. This is located out of sort of a suburb of Dallas is what he represents. What a rock star. He made it through Dartmouth and is still a conservative, so that's wonderful. And, he's really a rising star. Everybody loves to listen to when he goes in and he drills all sorts of folks because he's got the power to do that. But he just got elected in 2024, and I think his name is ubiquitous. Everybody knows who he is. And he joins us right now. Congressman Brandon Gill, thank you so much for joining us on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be with you.
So most recently, you have published or put out legislation that would essentially ban immigration from Somalia for 25 years. Can you tell us more about that bill and why you did it?
Sure. And, I think whenever you think of immigration policy in the United States, we have to back up and ask, what is immigration for? And the answer is that it is solely to benefit the interests of American citizens. There's no other purpose of our immigration system. So whenever you ask, is mass migration from Somalia beneficial to the American people? I think that the answer is unfortunately no. And there's a few reasons for that. One is that you see higher crime rates from Somali immigrants than you do for the general population, and it's a significant difference. But two, you also see an enormous amount of welfare usage, and Minnesota is the perfect example of that. Even putting the fraud aside, even after being in the United States for 10 years or longer, Somali immigrants in Minnesota use welfare at a rate of 78%. In other words, 78% of Somali-headed households in Minnesota are on welfare. That's not the American dream. That's not what our immigration system is for. That is people coming into the United States and getting free stuff at our expense that we're paying for. So, I think a basic principle of immigration, again, is that it should benefit the American people. This doesn't. And I think that it is within our interest as a sovereign country, a sovereign people, to stop that. So I introduced a bill a couple weeks ago that would put in just a 25-year moratorium on Somali immigration, which I think is a rational response and in many ways a moderate response. And I'm hoping that we can get a vote on the House floor for it.
Well, I mean, do some people, what's the timeline? 10 years? Do you think people will argue the 25 years and want to reduce that to 10 or to 5 years?
Perhaps we'll see what the pushback is. I haven't gotten a whole lot so far. One of the things that you see is that oftentimes people want to moderate these bills a little bit. We'll have those debates when the time comes. But I think most people recognize that mass migration from societies like Somalia do create cultural problems in the United States. Another finding about Somali immigration is that even after being in the United States for 10 years or longer, only about half of Somali immigrants speak English very well. In other words, they're not assimilating. They're forming sort of distinct enclaves in places like Minneapolis, and that is where, of course, we saw this massive fraud scandal, where you're talking about billions and billions of tax dollars that have been laundered, stolen from us. A lot of that money went overseas, very likely got in the hands of terrorist groups like Al-Shabaab, and that's our money. I think that we've got the political will to do something like this now, and we'll keep pushing for it.
Well, I heard a Somalian be interviewed on KSTP, that's the ABC affiliate in Minnesota, and they said, well, we weren't stealing, they were offering it to us, and that's in regard to the daycare fraud scandal and then the feeding food centers that they had during COVID. What does that say about our society?
Well, that's the second problem here. First of all, that money was illegally stolen. It was fraudulently taken. Now, there's a second problem, which is that there aren't many guardrails to stop fraud from happening in places like Minneapolis. Whenever you have welfare programs that are federally funded but administered by states, you're sort of opening up the door because there's not a very good incentive for blue states in particular to not give this money out to people who shouldn't get it. And the implicit deal that was made in Minneapolis and in Minnesota was that Democrat politicians knew this fraud was happening. And we had a hearing on this a little over a month ago. And that's one of the big things that we learned was that Governor Walz has known about this fraud for quite some time. But the implicit deal was that he would turn the other way. He would allow it to happen, not do anything, close his eyes, and in exchange, the Somali community, which is a very insular community that sort of votes as a bloc, would vote Democrat. And that was sort of the political bargain, again, implicit, but that was the deal because they didn't want to rock the boat. And that's a real problem for us. But there are issues with a welfare state that is completely unchecked with very little standards of verification and otherwise, and that needs to be fixed as well.
Well, you've been very good about being unapologetic about the assimilation of particularly the Muslim community. And in fact, you queried somebody, and we played the clip before you came on, about how 39% of them Muslims agree to Sharia law. 47% of them want to actually get involved in government. Here in Illinois, we have the Muslim Civic Coalition, whose only goal is to create majority Muslim voting districts. And then in your home backyard, of course, you have the EPIC community that the Muslims want to build, which is kind of an insular Muslim society. This is not a simulation. What should we be doing to combat it at the federal level?
You're exactly right. This is not assimilation. We live in a country that has a cultural foundation, and that cultural foundation is what makes our country great. It's what makes it the envy of the world. It's why people want to immigrate from all over the globe and come to America. And that's a distinctly European cultural foundation. That doesn't mean that people from all over the world can't come here and become fully American, but it does mean that we need to preserve our culture and preserve our heritage and have respect for it. And we expect people who come into the country to assimilate. Now, I think that whenever you're looking at all of these issues, there's a common denominator, and that's immigration. There are core principles of immigration that I think we've had in the past in the United States that we need to get back to. And one of them is what's called the public burden doctrine, which just states that you can't immigrate into the United States and then get on welfare. We're not going to allow you to come into the country if you can't be self-sufficient. That's something that the vast majority of Americans would agree with. We're not going to allow people to come in and then we have to pay for their food and their housing and health care and everything else. The second one is an expectation of assimilation, which is that there needs to be some cultural compatibility standard that we need to check before allowing somebody to come into the country. So if you have cultures that are fundamentally incompatible, and Sharia law and adherence or affinity for Sharia law, I think, is a perfect example. I do not think that we should be allowing immigration from areas like that or from cultures who cannot, as a matter of sort of cultural principle, assimilate properly. And I think that is the root cause of all of this.
So you've got your own Democrat leader in the state house there in Texas, Gene Wu, who, of course, thinks that minorities should just simply band together and, take over because the whites are not doing it.
I always tell people the day the Latino, African American, Asian, and other communities realize that they share the same oppressor is the day we start winning. Because we are the majority in this country now. We have the ability to take over this country and to do what is needed for everyone and to make things fair. But the problem is our communities are divided. They're completely divided. And I talk about this.
So there you go.
Well, what's your response to that, Congressman Brandon Gill?
It's stomach churning. I mean, it's really sickening. I mean, you have somebody who is explicitly, he's saying the quiet part out loud, that the goal is what it sounds like is to create some sort of race war of, non-whites against white people. I mean, it's really utterly grotesque. But this is how the left, it weaponizes race against the American people to intentionally divide us. And say that, one group is the oppressor, one group is the oppressed, and we're going to make that determination based on immutable characteristics like the color of your skin. I mean, think of how anti-American that is. We're not going to look at people as individuals. We're going to look at them as members of a racial group, not based on their culture. We're just solely going to look at them based on the color of their skin. I mean, that is unbelievably un-American.
So I want to be very respectful of your time. And of course, we just had that little scare with El Paso potentially closing for 10 days. And then now it's going to be open.
It has reopened.
Yeah, it has reopened. But I mean, we've got a bigger scare coming up because if the Department of Homeland Security is not funded, there goes your TSA funding. And so what are you thinking is going to happen in terms of the Senate getting their act together and passing the funding for DHS?
Well, I hope that Democrats will come to the table and operate in good faith. They put forward a set of demands that they wanted in order to vote for a DHS funding bill. And basically, the goal of their demands was to tear down immigration enforcement. And those are, of course, things that we can't do. We were elected to keep the American people safe and to secure the border and to conduct immigration operations. So we'll probably find out in the next few hours what Democrats are going to do there. I hope that they take the responsible path and reopen the DHS portion of the government, because I think that's in the best interest of the American people. But again, the ball's in the Senate's court there. We'll see what they do.
All right, Congressman Brandon Gill, always a pleasure and honor to have you here. Congressman from Texas' 26th Congressional District. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for your time. And he joined us on AM 560, The Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
If you think smart home technology is complicated, overwhelming, or crazy expensive, you haven't been to Cole Digital. At Cole Digital in Frankfurt, smart living isn't about flashy gadgets or blowing your budget. It's about making your home more comfortable, more functional, and more enjoyable, simply and affordably. And there's no better place to experience that than their 13,000 square foot design center, the most impressive technology showroom in all of Chicago. You'll walk through 30 fully designed rooms featuring audio, video, lighting, automation, and ideas you can actually use in your home. Every project Cole Digital does starts with a blank canvas and becomes a one-of-a-kind masterpiece designed around your style and vision. So if you're looking for inspiration, planning a remodel, or just want to see what smart living's really about, visiting Cole Digital in Frankfurt needs to be on your February to-do list. Learn more and plan your visit at koledigital.com. That's KOLE digital.com.
Streaming services, retail chains, and tech giants are all adding plus to their names. It's fairly obvious they were inspired by Hassellus Mattress. Hassellus showrooms are employee-free, plus unbeatable prices on Tempur-Pedic, plus free next-day delivery, plus 48 months interest-free financing on select Tempur-Pedic with approved credit, plus a $300 MasterCard gift card with your Tempur-Pedic mattress. Maybe we should change our name to Hassellus Plus. Find an employee-free showroom near you at Hassellus.com.
Fearless conversations and sharp analysis of the stories that matter. It's the Erin Mullins Show, now available on the Salem Podcast Network.
In the wake of what's just occurred in Venezuela, when we look at what might be happening in Iran, when we look at some other countries who might have all of a sudden not feel as secure as they once did, I'm trying to find the downside here. I get the cheerleading because it's bloody awesome.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
Attention investors, this affects you. Silver prices are exploding, with silver exceeding $100 a troy ounce for the first time. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get our free gold and silver investment guide. Plus, you'll also receive a free copy of economist Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem, when you call now. Here's why it matters. Silver is a high liquidity, tangible, and affordable precious metal investment that serves as an industrial commodity and a store of value. It often outperforms gold during economic upturns. If you have an IRA or 401k, you can act now. Roll over a portion into a tax-advantaged gold and silver IRA backed by physical metals you actually own. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 and find out how you can get a tax and penalty-free rollover for a portion of your retirement funds for 2026. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
AM 560, The Answer.
Are you familiar with Ali G? Alexei Janulius, he's Secretary of State. I call him a try-hard because he's just trying so hard.
They all have to have their nickname. Raja.
Well, no,
Ali
G, he's trying so hard. Like, remember he ran against Mark Kirk for the U.S. Senate seat and lost, and the two bros had a beer together in the basement in the Billy Goat and had a cheeseburger, and Mark Kirk, of course, wore a suit and tie, and Ali G came in with a ball cap looking all defeated. And so if you follow him on Twitter, he likes to Okay, well, everybody, not Twitter, X. Excuse me. What year is this? He likes his body, Jeannie. The man likes to work out and post videos of him doing leg lifts, doing squats today. We're doing chest and shoulders. We're doing back today. You've ever seen that? His videos?
No, but I mean, it's
laughable.
well,
like Paul Vallis and I laugh at we call Ali G all the time.
Well, you have Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War.
That's true.
You have him along with RFK Jr.
Right,
doing the workouts in front of the troops and all that. But
yeah, that seems
that's a little bit appropriate.
I mean, it is a little provocative, but as I always say, got it. Flaunt it while you've got it, because eventually things start shifting, don't they, men and ladies?
But RFK Jr., man, wow, that guy's in shape.
Is he 70? He looks
gotta
good.
be.
No,
I don't
I think
even
he is
know.
70 years old.
Okay.
And that's
It's amazing.
That's not a dad bod. I can tell you that much.
No.
Well, okay. Justin just let me know he is 72 years old.
72.
Even
Wow.
better. Keep it up.
Impressive.
But Ali G, so he, I follow him on X just because I'd like to see what my man's doing every day to burn the calories. He texted this. All right, so it's a picture of Bad Bunny holding the football during the halftime show that the word said, "Together we are America." And this is what he put on social media. Not sure if he's a Democrat or Republican, but that was an awesome halftime show, finishing off with a nice message. Hashtag Bad Bunny. American flag, American flag. How does Ali G not know that Bad Bunny denounced ICE and said no ICE during the Grammy Awards the week before? He cannot be. I mean, can he be that much of a mimbo that he doesn't know? Or is he just trying to, make the news with his stupidity?
I don't know. He's trying to position himself for his next run for who knows what.
So what is his next run? What's his next play? Do you think it's...
Maybe he'll wait out Pritzker. Pritzker tries to level it up to president. Who knows? I mean, that's been a traditional stepping stone, Secretary of State to governor.
Yep.
So we'll see. I mean, I don't think that we're done with him. Maybe he wants to go for Chicago mayor.
That's what I heard.
Who wants that job, though?
I know.
Gosh.
I will tell you one thing.
How do you deal with $41 billion in pension debt, habitually underfunding, lots of legacy costs that you can't nearly maneuver from? The Chicago Teachers Union, who wants that job?
I know. It's a boondoggle. And I will never forget that when Paul Vallis made his delivered his concession speech, there was a look on him of sheer relief. I mean, because I've known Paul since, he used to be my boss when I came here. I was a substitute teacher for CPS. I used to walk the halls of Austin High School, and they'd play the song Gangster's Paradise. That's, my friends would joke around about that. But I've known him since then, and he let me still substitute teach and work at NBC5 on the weekends. And I've known him for so long that I could sense that relief in his face when he lost that election. Now, maybe I'm speaking out of it, and he only lost by 16,000 votes.
There was nobody more qualified to be in charge of Chicago, especially at this time, than Paul Vallis. Nobody.
I know.
Because you know why? He cared about getting the right solution. Paul cared. And that's the first thing. That's the first thing you should look about in a politician. Do they care to solve the problems that are at hand?
When he was CEO
J.B.
of CPS,
Pritzker doesn't.
Yeah, when he was CEO of CPS, they left with a budget surplus.
Yes.
And this is how I know that. Remember when I told you,
and they left with a fully funded pension for the teachers. Yeah. And because it was fully funded, they skipped pension payments for the next 13 years.
Wow. I remember how I told you Governor Pritzker's people listened to this show.
Uh-huh.
So when Paul Vallis met with Governor Pritzker when he was running for mayor, Pritzker met with Brandon Johnson for an hour, and then he met with Paul Vallis. And Paul tells this story, so it's hysterical. He said that Pritzker had a tablet out and would say, on this day and date when you filled in for Dan Proft, you said this and this about me on Chicago's Morning Answer. What did you mean when you said that? And Paul went in there. He wanted to talk about safety on the CTA. He wanted to talk about the budget deficit. He wanted to talk about infrastructure. For the hour, Jeannie, and God is my witness, Paul has told this story before. The entire hour, he quoted Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy, quotes that he had said, because Paul filled in a lot.
Pritzker's thin-skinned.
People
Absolutely
don't realize how thin-skinned he is.
Completely.
until
and he's a bully.
That moment. And but and then we never knew. Pritzker never announced who he was endorsing. Remember, in the mayoral race, he never came out and said whether it was Brandon Johnson or not. That would have mattered or persuaded anybody to vote differently. But he is.
Well, we know who Rick Heidner was endorsing because he gave Brandon Johnson $25,000. Okay, he did give Paul Vallis $100,000. That's what he said. But he gave Brandon Johnson $25,000, and now he wants to run as a Republican for governor. I just don't want people to forget that.
And don't forget the money
because early voting's open, folks.
Yeah, and
go
the money
out there and vote.
that he gave to Kim Foxx. And during that debate, he just said, "I shouldn't have done it." Was that the only explanation he gave?
Well, I'm very sorry for what I gave to Kim Foxx. He did not apologize for giving to Brandon Johnson.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much for making us part of your morning, part of your lives. We are on Monday through Friday. If you want some more of the ladies, let's go.
We'll be back in 2 hours, Amy.
11 to noon. It's now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
An all clear in El Paso, Texas. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Hours after the FAA canceled all flights to and from the airport there for 10 days, that order was canceled.
The FAA is saying this: there is no threat to commercial aviation.